episode 134. Hello, welcome to Valorant. We run Valorant here. We got Valorant for you, Valorant in all of its forms. I'm gonna start with the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see Bala all there, all professional. He's at home. He's not on the road anymore. He's come back from LA. He's looking great. Then on the other side of the screen, oh, excellent, Leo, head of VALORANT Esports. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be lovely. And then in the other window, this, what are you doing?
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm back. I had a little break from Plat. I'm eating, Josh. I ordered my food an hour ago, and I only just got here.
Right.
So I had to run downstairs, and we had this important episode, and it's like, well, Leo's joining us. Don't mess this up, Bren. Listen, don't mess this up. And I'm just like, my food's not here. The guy's on a moped. He's got my food. He's got his drink in his hand while he's driving to me. He was like an hour late. I was supposed to be eating this about an hour ago, and I thought I would be set up by now, but I'm not. And also my headset, you complained, Josh, about my audio quality before we went live. You were like, your mic sounds like it's in another zip code, in your exact words.
It's
and
much better.
It was over there. Yeah, it is much better, but now I look like I'm a fucking referee on the stage. So now I'm just like, no.
And
we just got demonetized.
So we've got demonetized.
Oh, no.
Incredible, Bren. Incredible. You know what you look like? You look like that character from Star Wars that has the really long head and the tiny little eyes in the glasses. who was, I can't remember what that character is. The one that like keeps Luke's lightsaber safe for everyone.
Sorry, Kurt.
You could do the OG look of esports and put it on your, around the neck, but this is a lot better.
I think it's
This
better.
looks a lot cooler.
This does look a lot cooler, you're right. Yep.
Okay, so just to give people a rundown of what's going on in this episode. So later on, we're going to have Achilles on the show. We're going to be talking about the Pacific region. We've all watched our VODs, so don't worry. We won't just be rambling about Pacific anymore. We're going to be covering the North American, not just North American, the Americas League. But first of all, we've got Leo on the show because we wanted to talk about the Ascension news that happened recently. So Valorant posted a what do you call it? Article. That's the word for something with a lot of words in it. An article where you detailed the 3 Ascension tournaments that are happening towards the end of the year, and they're quite varied, to be honest. It's not the same kind of format for each region. It really does depend on where you are as to what's going on. I wanted to start really vague, though, really big topic, Leo, and ask you, like, from your perspective, how are you liking the current system? Because it's the first year of international partnerships, and it's not a format that anyone's done before. It's different to what other people have tried with partnership or franchise leagues. So how happy is everybody with how it's currently working with the tier 1 and tier 2?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I am currently in London, incredibly jet lagged. Got myself some coffee. I hope it'll kick in throughout the conversation. So if I'm low energy, that's why. But look, I think we spent a lot of time building this system. It was, a little bit over 2 years in the making. And we try to capture the best of both worlds, in which we know and we learned from 10 years of doing League of Legends that to have a healthy ecosystem and a healthy sport and healthy leagues, we need to give teams stability. We need to give them the opportunity to sign long-term contracts with players, to be able to build infrastructure, to sign partners and sponsorships for multi-year deals. And that's where partnership comes from, right? So you have a select of 10 teams who will be there guaranteed to play. It also honestly helps with fandom as well, because when you have an ecosystem that is completely open, you don't necessarily see the same teams tournament over tournament. And if your favorite team is not playing, it's almost like your fandom resets from competition to competition. But that's why we have that 10 partner teams. But there are other reasons why we also wanted a strong tier 2 ecosystem. The first and most obvious thing is a path to pro, right? As much as we want to have partner teams, we want to give both organizations, and most importantly, players, the opportunity to get there, right? To build their own path and get to the highest levels of Valorant. And this whole year, it's been a big change. We came from having 8 challenger leagues as our tier 1 competitions, or 9, I'm sorry, to now having over 20 of them, 23 as our tier 2 competitions. We had no idea how ILs and CLs coexisting would work, if fans would want to watch both competitions, if it would be too much. We spend a lot of time doing programming to make sure, as a fan, you can watch both your IL and the CL in your region. But again, we thought, is that going to be content fatigue? Is real, man. No one can watch 7 days of VALORANT 6 hours a day. Like, it's a lot of content.
You are talking exactly to the right people when you make that point.
I know. I think it's been good in a lot of ways, challenging in other ways. I would say, honestly, mixed results so far. There are some amazing things that we are super happy with in celebrating. I think a big one is just the diversity of teams in CL, seeing influencers and creators putting in their money, their weight, their effort into CLs is honestly is making a lot of them pop. North America being one. Brazil's another example of a Challenger League that has been quite successful. France, we just saw a peak of 177K viewers, which is quite solid. So I would say happy with the system, but definitely looking to evolve, hopefully make some changes going to next season.
Because there is a massive difference in terms of how, like, it's interesting that you talk about the one of the benefits of having that partnership system is that you get the same teams all the time, because that's how the Americas one works. It's really small. The North American one, sorry, for challengers, it's tiny. Whereas when I think about trying to follow the EMEA stuff, there are just so many different leagues to try to follow there, and many different teams. And I think, when you're looking at like France and Brazil and Japan, those kind of fan bases have tuned in massively for those games. I assume, though, that it's something that you're going to be constantly looking at and trying to pick out the best formats, and something that can change in the future. It's not set in stone, presumably.
Absolutely. Dude, nothing's set in stone. Of course, when we make a big bet, especially with like international leagues, those are long-term bets. But I mean, everything is up for review, and we hope to evolve. I think a challenge now at this point, honestly, is just increasing density of everything, talent density, viewership density, to help these leagues function a little bit better. But I also think Ascensions is going to be a big deal. It's been a hypothesis of ours from the beginning, right? Getting best of both worlds, partner teams, plus this ability of having new teams every year that will make the league fresh and give us this really big moment. That is not a global event, that is not ILs, but the stakes for Ascensions are so high that we truly believe it could be something quite exciting throughout the season. Just look at the future of the league, the future of the sport, new teams that will come along. So that's one, like, really just seeing how Ascensions will go and work this year will definitely inform our plans for next year. And the other thing would be, of course, Premier, because Premier is also this huge bet that exists across the game and the sport. And we're also looking to see how that might affect Challenger leagues, because it will give us the ability to go quite deep and quite granular with competitions in a way that is a bit harder to do with Challenger leagues, because at that point, to your point, we have lots of them, all of them. I mean, it's a full-blown league with broadcast and teams and formats and schedule. So I think Premier will also give us the opportunity to do things differently and just approach how we look at tier 2 and 3 and the whole path to pro a bit differently.
That's one of the things I was most excited about for Premier, was just removing the obstacles, the barrier to entry to get into competitive play. Because if it's all baked into the in-game client as well, theoretically you can run, off-season tournaments within it if it's really fleshed out. It's pretty important, and
I hope also that you're planning for like a year later not having any broadcast talent, because we're all going to be going pro. I mean, we're going to be going through Premier, and we're going to be popping off, and we're all going pro. You won't have anyone to cast your game.
You're not even making playoffs this season.
Josh, we need to win one of our Haven maps to make playoffs. And I was talking to him last night over dinner. I was like, Josh, when can we scrim? When can we sit down and scrim? And we're listening at the days, and he's like, oh yeah, I can't play this day, can't play this day, can't play this day. He's not keen on it.
I'm busy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm busy.
I am curious about Premier and like, especially in EMEA, I think there's a very ingrained system already with the VRCs leading into the Challengers League. I know this is a like wide off of Ascension, but I assume
That's okay.
the goal is eventually to have Premier be the, you know, the qualification part, the path to pro to the Challengers Leagues, and not to the VRCs. Are those going to be getting replaced with Premier, or is that information, you know, something you've decided on yet?
Dude, that's a great question. So, our ultimate vision is for Premier be the path to Challenger Leagues. That's for sure. That's the whole idea of connecting the game with the sport. Now, you're right. We built this whole system in Europe to with the VRCs, and they have been playing quite an important role in this and in the sport so far. And the reality is, as much as we are incredibly bullish on Premier, it needs time. We need to run a couple seasons. We're going to hear a little bit more about Premier publicly coming this summer in the next few months. So like more details on the seasons and how all of that is going to work. But we need to give it some time to make sure it's functioning properly. So for the time being, like both things will coexist, you know, VRCs and Challenger Leagues. We're not looking to discontinue those leagues in Europe, but that future vision of Premier's the path to Challenger Leagues take you to ILs, international leagues take you to global events. That's the vision for all territories and regions and leagues around the world, and we hope to get there.
Well, I definitely agree with the idea of Ascension being a major, like a major tournament, despite not being a you know, one of the premier global events. I think people are going to be tuning in to watch that because the stakes are so high. So let's have a look at this Ascension announcement then. Let's have a look at the article, if Kurt, you wouldn't mind bringing it up. Because it starts out with the schedule for it, right? Like when in the year it's going to be running. And yeah, immediately after the conclusion of Masters Tokyo, the 3 Challengers Ascension tournaments are going to be kicking off. And one of the first questions I had was, I was looking at the schedule, and it does seem a little weird that 2 of the days are overlapping with LCQ at the beginning too. Is that just unavoidable, or was there a deliberate reason for that? Because it feels like I would rather tune in to watch the end of Ascension, to be honest, even though it is technically lower level than LCQ.
True. So here's a challenge with calendar. It is quite complex. It's like a game of Tetris trying to put everything in place. And at this point, we have a system where for some of our competitions, we establish dark days, meaning nothing else happens, like Champions Grand Finals, nothing else across the ecosystem is happening on that day. And that is true for a lot of dates throughout the calendar. We have what we call gray days, which means other competitions can happen, but not during the on-air time of a specific show. So let's say a regular Masters show day, sometimes we let competitions happen before and after. And then there are things that we just accept the overlap. We hope those are incredibly rare because, again, we put a lot of effort into programming. And then honestly, it's also just a muscle that we were building at Riot, because for many years we had one sport, a handful of leagues, and now we have this, you know, incredibly complex ecosystem. But we put a lot of effort into programming, looking at everything from optimal time zone for broadcasts around the world and how, you know, where to position our shows to capture more audience, and overlap between regions, which is important, especially if you look at NA versus EMEA, there is an overlap there. So the overlap that we have right now is between EMEA Ascensions and America's LCQ. Right. We hope the time zone difference will not be, we might have an hour of overlap, even if you want to watch both.
Right. But it's not substantial in terms of like people tuning into potentially the same region, that kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And that's a short answer. It was just inevitable. And the fact that it's between EMEA and Americas, we hope it won't be a big deal. But I will tell it right here without making any announcements. But like, we're probably looking to change the timing of Challengers Ascensions next year too.
Right. Is there a reason why it has
more
to
of its own?
Is there a reason why it has to happen so early in the year? As far as I understand, it's the last Challenger step. Why does it have to happen before LCQ and Champs?
Yeah, that's another good question. Again, looking to move next year, but the big challenge there is the off season and the transfer window. we wanted to give teams the ability to change their rosters going into next season, right? Essentially putting them on the same status as every other partner teams going into ILs next year. You have the same opportunity to, because once teams ascend, they will get very similar benefits of teams that are currently in the IL, including substantial amount of money. So we wanted to give them the opportunity to make changes to the rosters, pick up players. So that is kind of the push and pull we have with Ascension. So running it, for example, after Champions gives it a better place in the calendar. It gives it its own spotlight. I think honestly, it tells a better story, right? Because then you would have everything leading up to Champions being about this year, and then Ascensions being about next year. But the trade-off is the transfer window.
Right. The trade-off is they get 4 weeks less in order to prep themselves for next year. Yeah, I understand that. I wanted to go through some of the different formats and stuff because there are substantial differences in terms of the regions. And obviously we know that anyway because the tier 2 regions are not the same, right? You wouldn't be able to run the same kind of formats because there are vastly fewer tier 2 teams in, let's say, North America than in the entirety of EMEA and this extends. So let's go through the Pacific one, Ko, if you could bring that back up. Well, Pacific looks sick. I mean, they've got a playoff location in Thailand. All 10 days of the competition are in front of a live studio audience. They're doing very similar kind of things to the other regions where they will get sorted into 2 groups. They'll play a single round robin, BO3s, and then they go into the playoffs. It is a single elimination playoff bracket, so that's a little different as well to some of the other regions too. But just as a big picture thing here, Leo, like there are vastly different formats for the different regions. So why are they not aligned? Why has there been no attempt to try and align them and make it feel all the same? Is that something that was the goal from the beginning, or is that just a consequence of different people running them or different teams being involved? What's the deal there?
So coming into this year, our whole philosophy was, if you think about the sport as a pyramid, right? Being global events, then international leagues, challenger leagues, premier. The higher up we go, the more consistency there is. So if you look at ILs, everything is pretty much consistent. The calendar is very much consistent. The TPA with teams, number of teams, all the big blocks and the calendar, everything is the same. For challenger leagues, there's a lot more variance. The reason being, one is there are just too many leagues. We couldn't dive into all of them and honestly just build consistency there. And we wanted to start the season in 2023 with tier 2 because we thought it was really important to kick off the whole thing together. So kind of the same principle applies to challenger leagues. We have our regional teams. We gave them a lot of room to explore, try new formats. The reality is the markets around the world are incredibly different. So it made sense for some of these leagues to run part of the competition in their IL studios, while in APAC we were able to do a road show. So it just felt like being rigid at this point with challengers would probably create more problems than benefits. So we just let each one of the 3 teams explore and do whatever they thought was best for the league. Going into next year, though, we might see a little bit more of standardization. I think, especially again looking at the whole tier 2 ecosystem and CLs and Premier, we might see. But for this year, it was really about letting each one of our regions explore. So they are vastly different.
Yeah, moving on to the EMEA format, we have a similar length of time in terms of the tournament, but it's so 9 of the teams involved are going to be. So there were 10 teams also involved in the Pacific region too. They get sorted into 2 groups of 5. But EMEA, they also have 10 teams, 9 of which are from winning their Challengers Leagues, because there's 9 Challengers Leagues in EMEA, which is part of why EMEA is so bonkers to follow. And a final team through a play-in tournament, which I believe is the second place teams from all of those that play like an online tournament against each other. And I know that the EMEA fans were disgruntled about this. It begins with an online group stage. So rather than all playing at LAN in Thailand, for example, for Pacific, the EMEA round robin tournament is online as well. Now, is this something where I would imagine that for some of these tier 2 situations, having visas to be able to play in a certain spot does become a limiting factor. Is it to do with that? Is it something different? What's the reason why this is starting online?
It's both visas. You're absolutely right. Both visas. And the other thing is, we just wanted to optimize usage of the Coliseum as much as possible this year. It's such a great venue. We all love it. And we wanted to do more. So it was a trade-off between, do we do the entire event on land with probably a slightly lower quality bar as far as the production goes, or do we start online with play-ins, but then we do the back half of the tournament at the IL level, essentially giving those teams a taste of what they will see if they ascend next year. And we thought that would be the better product. I mean, obviously we would love to do everything land if we could, but that was kind of the trade-off and the decision the team made. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's going to be pretty hyped to see those teams playing at the Coliseum.
It's a sick venue. I think it's the best venue of the three in terms of the like atmosphere that they've got in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a really, I think, beautiful arena. It has a bunch of features that we also try to build in all of the others. So having multiple casting positions for multiple languages and co-streaming booths, and the fact that fans are kind of elevated, so we really create that feeling of a pit. So yeah, really excited. I'll go check it myself in person for VCT Media playoffs next week. Haven't been there yet. I'm so excited.
And then Americas, right? So Americas has only 6 teams, which is another big difference because the other two both have 10.
Yep.
But you get 2 from Brazil and 2 from North America, then 1 from LATAM South and 1 from LATAM North. So it's 2 from all of the regions, but LATAM being split into North and South. And they're all going to Sao Paulo. And I assume that it's starting without an in-person audience, but it's at LAN. I couldn't really pass this. It seemed a little ambiguous in terms of how it was worded, but that was how I read it. It says it's starting at the VALORANT Brazil studio, but the conclusion is in front of a live audience. Could you run us through that?
That's correct. So yeah, so the difference in number of teams is because we currently have 10 Challenger Leagues in APAC, 9 of them in EMEA, and then 4 in the Americas, right? We have North America, Brazil, Latin North, and South. So that's where you have a difference in teams. And you are correct. So we have this actually quite nice facility in Brazil that is a combination of the Riot Games office and then a complex with 3 sound stages, one for CBLOL that does feature live audience, which by the way is the same arena where we're having Game Changers later this year. Then we have 2 other sound stages, one being Valorant. It's where we run the Brazil Challenger Leagues. It's actually the only Challenger League around the world that we run in a Riot facility. So it's going to start there, and it does not feature live audience. But then we move to a live audience venue that's going to be quite larger than a regularly sized studio. So again, similar concept. Do we want to put more effort, energy, and money towards the back half of the tournament to make it bigger, more impactful, and compromise no live audience at the beginning? Very, very excited about this one as well.
So does that mean at what point do we transition into being able to, attend and watch that? If you're living in Sao Paulo and you're interested in following this, is it for the whole of the playoffs? Is it just for the final few games? When can people turn up?
I actually do not know the answer to that question. Let me see if I can find that info in the next.
That's fair enough. I mean, it might not be announced for some specific reason as well. Maybe we're digging into trade secrets here.
No worries. It's not supposed to be a secret. I am pretty confident it is the final 2 days, but I will see if we can find the info exactly, and I will share with all of you. By the way, all of the following this announcement, we're now going to see shortly information on ticketing, schedule, the usual, everything you need to know about this tournament coming live really, really soon. So yeah,
Cool. So I
Should
mean,
not be a
it's
secret at all.
going to be out there for sure.
Yeah.
I was curious about I mean, obviously you mentioned the studios and possibilities in Sao Paulo, but this is now the third tournament that's going to be hosted in Sao Paulo, and I was wondering if you guys are using that. Obviously, you have tools there, you have the studio there. That's not very consistent around other places in the world, but it does start to feel like it's getting repetitive. I wanted to know like how you were selecting venue specifically for Ascension here.
Totally. So with the IL being in Los Angeles, we wanted to vary all of our other compositions a little bit more. Well, both ILs and champions this year being in LA, we wanted to vary a little bit more. Brazil is a rare combination of a great audience, like we have a really large player base and a really large fan base in Brazil, a studio, and a great team. So like we can it's just very convenient. It allows us to build a really great show for broadcast where 99.9% of the audience tune in to watch. From Brazil, I would agree with you that 3 things in Brazil this year is a bit too much. It's almost like what we had in the first couple of years of the VCT with a ton of things in Berlin. For a number of reasons, including COVID. So it's a bit too much. I would agree. We want to have more variety in the future. But it was really that idea of getting out of LA, not doing everything in LA. As usual, we explored a bunch of options. We looked to go into other places in Latin America, even other places in the US. But then we have the usual challenges of, for example, doing something in the US, just as a bit of information and context behind the curtain. As of now, we need to get people visaed 6 months in advance, which is impossible. Like for champions, we started visaing all the IL players in January, so they could be here in August, and we had to visa all the teams, not knowing who would be in contention. So
that's crazy,
right?
Yeah.
So of course, CLs would not be done by the time we had to start visaing people to do anything in the US, for example. So that was out of question. And then we look at other places in Latin America, and again, it's the same thing: visas, but also venue availability. Do we have fiber and internet connection to connect with our remote broadcast center in Dublin? Like a lot goes into consideration. And honestly, Brazil is just a convenient location where our resources go a long way. We have a really strong team. So I think it will be an amazing show, but I do agree with you that it feels a bit repetitive. And actually, Anton just confirmed here, final 2 days of the live audience for America's Ascension. So Saturday and Sunday, July 8th and 9th. Yeah, and ticketing information should go live soon.
And then I saw you talking on Twitter about potential for these kind of teams to interact in the off season too with the IL teams, which is something that I appreciate a lot. I mean, we saw a couple of events that were like that in this off season. I mean, one that we went and casted, actually, the Ludwig Tarek Invitational, had some of the challengers teams playing up against, Sentinels, etc. T1. That is something that we're very open to in Valorant, and something that you're encouraging, is it?
Very, very open. And look, admittedly, we haven't put a lot of effort into the offseason yet, and we definitely want to do more. I know we have a quite long, which honestly I call quite healthy offseason, because one, the reality is we want to give fans the opportunity to miss the sport, right? When people say, I miss Valorant, that's a good thing, right? We want to give people that opportunity, because then when the season is on, it just feels that much more special, right? It's like watching the World Cup if you follow football. It only happens every 4 years, and that makes it that much more special. So not having regular season plus global events on year long is a very intentional decision. But now we have 4 months, and it's a long off season. I think that's fair to say. So we want to do a lot more. And our whole philosophy for the off season is we want to see things that you don't get to see during the regular season, right? And the ideas there are mostly about just new types of competition, new combinations, new pairings, things that again you wouldn't see. And we definitely want to create more space. I mean, the space is there, but we want to find more incentives, way to support these tournaments. We already do provide, I think, a good amount of support. We do prize pool contributions to some of these. We make a lot of tech available, things like tournament realms to support with all the, game infrastructure. We do promote all of these across our channels, but we want to do more to really make the off season more interesting and give fans cool stuff to watch and teams competitions to play in. But yeah.
One of the nice things I think about the current partnership model that we have is that I think other partnership models, when you see it being implemented in other esports or sports, whatever, they want to disincentivize that crossover between tier 2 and tier 1, because it's almost like it devalues the investment or the buy-in or whatever. But because it's largely being supported by Riot, we have that kind of luxury where it's like we're not really worried about too much of devaluing the tier 1. You want to see that cross-contamination, because it's just good for the lifeblood, right? You get to see the talent being brought up to that tier 1 level, and you get to see them compete a bit more.
100%. And look, we talked about this before. The whole partnership model was about selecting organizations, not rosters, right? So if we have a tier 1 versus tier 2 competition and tier 2 team crushes tier 1, which is unlikely but possible, I think that would be interesting. I think if I'm an owner of a partner team, I would be like, I need to make changes to my rosters. How do I go sign those guys? It's not like, oh, at this, like, because of that now tier 1 is less competitively valid, or it's a shitty product. If fans are watching more of tier 2, that's also okay. That's also success. At the end of the day, we want to give people the chance to watch great VALORANT play gameplay. So yeah, that's not an issue at all, and very, very much encouraged for the offseason.
I mean, for reference, MCE, who currently head coaches Cloud9, picked up Trent because he dropped like 30 against him in a scrim. I think Durka got picked up for a similar reason onto Fnatic when it first started. And then Cooper got picked up for a similar reason in a coaching role because he went crazy on them against them in a scrim. So,
I mean, what the heck?
You need to get out there and scrims against them.
MCE wants to scrim us, Josh.
Well, that's the route. That's the route to pro. That's how it happens. I do want to ask this, though, because kind of tying into all of this stuff, Ascension is going to be fantastic. But for the teams that end up missing out on the ability to play in that tournament, there is a huge amount of time. And I know that you talked about next year moving it later in the calendar, too. But there's a huge amount of time there where teams that aren't in Ascension don't really have too much to do. They're just kind of twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the next season or waiting for some off-season tournament to happen, or playing in a Knights monthly or something like that. With the current state of investment in esports and things looking like they're going on a bit of a downturn economically, just in general, to be honest, are the VALORANT Esports team thinking about other ways of helping to support the tier 2 ecosystem beyond just dangling the carrot on the stick of you can make it to the international leagues, which it's a juicy carrot, but there's only one carrot per region.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the big thing we're looking to do is really a big overhaul going into next season. Our hope is that as we make those changes, we would kick off the next season for challengers shortly after champions. That's the intention, right? Because look, if you think about it now, here's what's happening. We have ILs and CLs completely overlapping, fighting for attention, fighting for a bunch of things, right? For airtime, scheduling things around. And then we have this big block of no regular season competition happening for 4 months. It seems almost obvious to just run challenger leagues on that block, give them more space, not compete with ILs and global events, right? So that's the hope, and I think that will create, that will be a very positive and healthy change going into next season. And the other thing is also Premier. Again, I think our vision for that product is incredibly solid. The beta is going incredibly well, but we think it could be bigger than the in-game mode. Like, it could really become a tool where people can run tournaments and run things on top of everything from collegiate to off season to team run, team hosted tournaments. So the hope is that the off season is also going to be quite busy, including for tier 2 teams as Premier goes live. So yeah, we're hoping that those changes will make it better for teams and just give them more opportunity to play in general.
I wanted to ask before we let you go about challengers in EMEA. I think there's been a lot of talk specifically about that region, and like in terms of some of the specific challengers leagues having lower viewership, less broadcast support, especially in Polaris. I think that's been a big one. I just want to know your overall thoughts about that discussion and how people are seeing it as a problem in terms of development and getting teams to the international league and player support.
Yeah. So I would say I agree it's a problem. We all agree it's a challenge and that it could be better. And I think honestly just part of some of the changes we want to make going into next year. In my mind, the conversation should be, and that's how we're having the conversation internally, is how do we define success for challenger leagues, right? Because it's not the main product, right? It's not the tier 1 product. That's IL. So that's where we put most of our energy and money, production quality, and polish. And the goal is really to build high viewership products because that's what drives everything. So if viewership is not necessarily the definition of success for challenger leagues, what is? And in our minds, really the purpose, the reason why they exist is that path to pro, right? Initially, we thought, well, maybe challenger leagues could also be a product that is highly localized to a specific audience. So if you're a French fan, you have the IL, but you also have a product that's fully French talent, French teams, fully catered to you. Now that we're seeing both products coexisting, we're seeing that if you have representation in the IL, it doesn't matter as much to have a product that is fully dedicated to you, right? A good example is, I think, Challenger Leagues in Brazil. It's still a healthy product. It's functioning well, but we know that fans want to watch loud, right? Not even loud and fear and MIBR, but they want to watch Sassy and Punkat. You know what I mean? Like they want to watch the best of the best. So in that way, the coexisting is teaching us that ILs are probably the focus. So reason to exist for CL has really become talent development. So the dilemma now is for a league to serve its purpose and create opportunity for talent to development, it needs to exist at a healthy state, right? Because if you have a league that no one's watching, then teams get discouraged to invest. Therefore, there are fewer opportunities for pros to develop. So my point being pure talent development simply doesn't work. We need the league to be at a healthy state. Like the floor for challenger leagues need to be a little bit higher. Like a league with 1,000 people watching just doesn't move the needle. So yeah, I think the short answer is agree it's a challenge, looking to make some changes into next year, and refining what we define as a success for challenger leagues, because again, it's not necessarily viewership, but also we need these leagues to be in a good place to serve their purpose.
It's always a challenge making a tier 2 system that functions well. I don't know really of almost any esport that's managed it. So yeah. To be honest, I appreciate the constant iteration and desire to improve the ideas involved, even if it's not perfect the first time. I think that's what's going to get you to the right result eventually.
Absolutely. And I would say the final piece of the puzzle here that is our big tier 2 overhaul going to next year is academy teams, because I think everyone knows we went into this year not allowing academy teams for very specific reasons. The big one being we would hate if a team that is an academy team win Ascensions and then they can't promote, right? That would suck for everyone, for those players, for fans watching. Like, what the hell? The team won and they can't promote. Like, it messes up with the whole thing. But we also want to find ways to help teams develop talent better, other than just scouting CLs and signing players. So yeah, that will all come as a package of improvements for tier 2 coming in next year. And look, some of those things will work, some will not, and we'll continue to tweak and make changes and experiment.
Makes sense. Well, I'm very much looking forward to Ascension. I think that the hype around it is going to go crazy, especially if, I mean, not all of the products that are in tier 2 have been getting the highest levels of hype, but the ones that have been working have been as popular with their like core audience as the ILs, from what I can tell. Like, people are going nuts around the North American challenges and the Japanese one as well that I've seen. And like you're saying,
talk about challengers NA? Why aren't you talking about Plat?
Because we can't watch them because it's too much Valorant. But
It
yeah,
is
people,
a lot of Valorant.
but people are extremely excited for it, and I am too. I think the actual like goal of getting to the pro level, getting to the tier 1 level, is an amazing thing to be fighting for. I was talking to Valen recently, or rather, Golden Boy was talking to Valen and relaying it to me. But he said that Valen was just excited to, as you gear up towards the end, to feel like he's really fighting for something that feels like a tier 1 tournament again, which is sick for those players. So yeah, check out the article if you haven't seen it. Get ready to watch Ascension in your region. And Leo, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, folks. Thank you for having me. This was super fun. I am usually tuned in and watching Plat chat. So
Well, that's dangerous.
Oh man, it's a nice show. It's a nice show. You guys do a great job. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We will say goodbye to Leo then, and we will move to, I don't know, are we going to a break or something so Bala can eat his food, and then we'll
we can take
bring
a short
Achilles
break.
back in?
We can take a
All right,
short
we'll
break.
take it.
Dude, my stomach is grumbling, bro.
We'll take a short break. Thank you, Leo. See you later.
Cheers, folks. Bye.
I'll be right back.
We'll give you guys 3 minutes. Ball has 3 minutes to eat. We can swap in Achilles if my button works. I think Achilles might be here now. Said he had to go to the bathroom. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was fun. We have a lot of show left. We're gonna be doing Americas and Pacific.
What?
We're not
We're
doing
doing Americas?
We're not doing EMEA this week, unfortunately. We don't have time.
EMEA.
EMEA.
Yeah. No EMEA this week
Hello.
because there was only one playoff spot up for grabs between, like, I think technically Heretics had a chance at it, though I don't really understand how. But it was basically between Vitality and BBL, I think.
All right, I'm back.
My head is being clamped by this double headset.
Well, put it around your neck, mate.
I'm gonna put it on my shoulder.
That was everyone.
Why do you have to be unique, Bren?
I don't have to be unique. I don't think things through.
We're telling you how to think.
I'm telling you
no.
how to think. Incredible comment.
But yeah, we're chilling. Achilles, I think you're here now. It looks like he's eating too. Yeah, he's definitely eating something.
Yes.
Also, yeah, if you're an
Can I be
EMEA
heard?
fan, the big EMEA game this week is Fnatic Na'Vi, and it happens in like an hour. So just watch that.
The stakes are for that game is #1 seed, right? Whoever wins is #1 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess additional stakes in the sense of Fnatic
Fnatic is
have been
undefeated.
undefeated the last 2 regular splits. So this is their potential to go 3 regular splits in a row undefeated. And they would be the only undefeated team in the ILs as well.
Which, by the way, 3 different rosters, which is crazy to me too. Because
Yeah.
the first split was Brave AF, the second
Brave
split was
AF and
Alpha
Magnum.
Year. Yeah.
Hello?
Like crazy.
My mic
Yeah, we can
working
hear you.
now?
We can hear you.
All right, cool.
It
I
is
was talking
ridiculous.
before and I'm like, am I just getting fucking like just hard dono-walled or is my mic not functioning?
No, we could hear you. We just were don't know only. Yeah.
We're
Oh,
done
I see.
already.
Cool. I'm gonna leave.
All right, I have my food, so I mean, I'm happy to start.
All right, well, the timer's running, so we might as well give him another 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
While
We'll give
we're
you
in
30.
this,
We'll give you 30
well,
seconds.
oh,
Hello,
oh.
you can see yourself. You have 30 seconds. Well, how's your food?
Okay. Oh, jeez. Oh, you said I have 30 seconds, bro. Hold on.
Put it away. Come on.
Jeez.
Should we
My
go
mic's
then?
muted. Hello.
Like Sean Locke feeding Johnny Vegas that monstrous eclair on 8 out of 10.
All right, let's get started then. All right, welcome back to episode 134. We're going to talk about Americas and the Pacific region as well. We have come off the Americas broadcast and we've just been binge watching the Pacific VODs so that we can actually have some input and not just have a Kilios spiel about it for 20 minutes while we just ramble some bullshit.
It was actually nice and Pacific. We had the Super Week, and I was so confused about like what was happening, what the stakes were, anything like that. And then at the end of the Super Week, just like every match mattered. It was crazy. It was actually crazy.
Except for DFM Talon, but yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, I mean, not literally every match mattered. But
the only
God
one that
bless
didn't.
them.
Everything else had implications. It was good.
Wait, who does Crew play against later on? Is there a chance that
Cloud9.
DFM are the only winless team?
No, Cloud9's playing them.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
GG.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Norton 9.
Okay, well, let's not talk about the Norton 9 teams. Let's start by talking about 100 Thieves, shall we? Because they have narrowly kept their season alive. Their final game is against MIBR, which is extraordinarily winnable game.
Yep.
I mean, it's theirs to lose at this point. And the Sentinels fans are begging them to lose it. I mean, I would imagine everybody from 100 Thieves has a DM with some kind of cash reward to throw the match. Like, every single Sentinels fan is begging 100 Thieves to toss this. But yeah, they're actually technically in 7th place right now. I do want to point that out. All of the standings are currently incorrect because when you have a 4-way tie like this, it is based off map differential, and they are -2. So they're currently in 7th, but they play against MIBR, so they're like almost guaranteed to make it through, I think.
Yes.
What are you making that face for, Bala? Do you not think they're guaranteed?
No. I agree with you. It's just funny because MIBR has lost like the last 8 maps in a row or something like that. And I mean, it would just be fucking iconic if they just won 2-0.
Where the hell is it? It's the no. Sorry, my train of thought. Listen, you caught me at a bad time this morning because I'm very routine based. I like to eat. I like to get settled, and then I'm like, okay, Plat chat Valorant. I'm feeling good. Right now, I'm fucking wading through the Breath of the Wild fucking area where you just before you get a Master Sword, and there's just fog everywhere, and I'm like twisting and turning, and I'm like trying to find the torches and the wind and follow, and I'm like I'm trying to follow the pathways in my brain. Nothing's really working. MCE posted a thing that I was looking at, which was the I don't know where he got this from, but basically just compiling the stats in terms of win percentage for teams when the maps are close. Now, I don't know what they defined as a close map. I'm assuming it was just like small round differences between the maps. But the interesting to note about like 100 Thieves versus Faria is that you've got 2 of the teams that have played the most close maps that played against each other.
Right.
And like we think inherently like, oh, we shit on 100 Thieves a lot and we big up Faria. Yeah, this is a tweet. Good job, Kurt. I didn't even link it. I just kind of said it. And then Faria is one of the most winning teams when it comes to the close maps.
Oh, close maps, by the way, here is defined by a 13-10, 13-11, or OT.
Right. So you can basically almost describe it as like the ability to close out maps, which is what it showcases here. But I think it's interesting to point out just how much our kind of like our biases when we're coming into each week. I was reflecting on it and thinking like we were really bigging up Faria a lot, but they had a lot of maps where they were like incredibly good on like the attack side and then just dog shit on the defense side. And like their map pool was a little bit wonky in areas. And then a team like 100 Thieves, which at the back of my mind, we're heavily doubting them because they really did have some bad looks and also an inability to close out maps as well. But there's just you could be looking at a different world where this is flipped. And so is the result of 100 Thieves keeping their season alive by a win versus Faria actually that surprising when you keep that in mind?
I mean, also though, I think that the idea that teams have played a lot of close maps also means that they are not blowing teams out. Like you see Cloud9, they're at the top of that because they've won 2 out of 2, but they've also only played 2 close maps.
Yeah,
they've just been dominating teams. So the more close maps you play, like Matt's point here is that we're maybe being a bit too harsh on Crew because they played a lot of close maps, but they've played a lot of close maps because they're always on the losing side. And so the best they can do is keep it close, right? So
sure,
it's not like they're winning a lot, but then, letting some slip away. They're just, the best they can do is keep the maps close. So I don't know. To me, the Furia MIBR thing, Furia actually sold us on a pipe dream with how they played in week 1 and 2. That to me, I think sums up the
still
season.
think that I was getting pooed on for no reason by saying that we were overrating Furia.
No, mate, because you said MIBR were better than them.
Okay, that point was wrong. I'll accept that. Listen, there's human nature is learning from one's mistakes. I'll accept that. I was wrong about MIBR. I thought they were going to look much better. I got fucking baited by the pre-lock-in season before lock-in and their gameplay there. But Furia as well is a team that I think they were always throwing out like some not gimmicky comps, but just they were throwing all their eggs in one basket. Like you think back to that old Pearl comp when they were running like incredibly attack-sided neon comp on Pearl.
That was great.
And like that's incredibly one-sided in terms of how they play. And they're always a little bit finicky when it comes to just the maps in general, but they brought it over the line every single time. And so I always thought like, it was, for me, I'm just going to say, might be hindsight Henry analysis, but I think I was right in week 1 or 2 and you guys were wrong.
No, I think that's correct.
Thank you.
No,
Finally, someone agrees with me.
I'll give you that one. I really will. I feel like Fury are an upset team at this point, right? They've got like the potential to upset any of the top level teams. Maybe not any of them actually, because even when Dujazim was having a god game, they still couldn't beat NRG. But like, they're very dangerous. Anyway, should we get into the actual match itself? 100 Thieves beating Furia. There were the games were close, but what I felt like this match was both teams picking maps that their opponent was bad at, and then the map 3 was a genuinely good match.
Yep. The Pearl was, I mean, Pearl's been getting vetoed by 100 Thieves the entire season, and they decided to ban Ascent this time because they're 0-4 on that map, so it makes a lot of sense. But I mean, it genuinely was that, and you could tell as well. Well, Fury wasn't banning Fracture or anything like that. They did play Fracture before. They just only, I think, won one series on or one map on it, but nobody picked it against them. Either way, like you could tell on Pearl specifically, like 100 Thieves was not as prepped on this map. They weren't as good. It wasn't as clean. And then on Fracture, Fury still doesn't even know what to run on that map because they've swapped back to the Neon, and Digizin is just unfortunately not a good Neon.
These rounds are some of the worst rounds I've ever seen. And I've been watching Pearl in Pacific this week, and these are still worse.
Yeah,
it's a triple nanoswarm kill. It's poggers, dude.
I mean, the fact that they bail out of the A hit with like 20 seconds left and run all the way to B. I said it on the desk. I stand by it. 100 Thieves played Pearl how the fans think Pearl is played. You go B every round, and you don't do anything in mid, and you don't create any pressure anywhere else. You just go B.
Yeah.
Yep. They never broke any of the util, even though they were taking the space. And then they would just like, it was like 4 rounds in a row where they just rotated late round and then had to deal with KJ util or whatever it was sitting there. It was really horrible. But
so they have 2 maps that they just can't play, which is Ascent and Pearl.
Not great.
No.
What do you mean no?
Isn't it more than that?
Are you saying bind?
My initials, I was thinking bind as well.
I mean, we haven't seen them. Oh, well, they have played bind, right? They played against NRG. I don't think it looked that bad, but it's NRG.
No, it looked fucking atrocious. What are you talking about? Do you not remember? I mean, the rounds they won were based off like 1v3 clutches.
Yeah, but I'm giving them a bit of a bail there because
it's NRG.
It's NRG. They're nasty.
Yeah, NRG are really good on bind. That is true.
My one read on that map, though, despite like it maybe having some good moments and whatnot, and maybe not looking terrible, was it looked exactly the same as last year. That's my one read on the map. So I actually feel like they haven't really been playing it too much, which is scary.
Yeah. I don't have too much to say about the match in general, except that we haven't really updated. I was trying to think about the players that we gave like hot takes about that we haven't done an update on in a while. And one of them was Cryo. I feel like we haven't talked too much about Cryo on the show since he's been getting a lot better. We just talked about him when he was...
We talked about him last week.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it then. Don't care. Move on.
Moving on.
Move on, whatever. Yeah, he's back to how he was playing before. He looks really good. Whatever. Talked about it already. Fuck it. Move on. I forgot we'd spoken about him.
Yeah, because I had that whole thing about his movement looking much more fluid and like more comfortable based off.
Right,
Of,
okay.
maybe we didn't have like a large discussion about him, but yeah, I mean, coming into the year, we had him like in our way too early top 20 lists and shit. Like 3 people had him number 1. So
Yeah, that's
because the Rebel
that's
performance was
understandable.
so insane for
Yeah,
him that we kind of expected him to continue to get better with the system around him, but that just wasn't the case, and he is finally starting to like ramp back up to that level, and go toe to toe with Digizin, by the way, which was pretty nice. Even though Digizin, I think in the beginning of the game was like having his way with him, the rest of the game was cry all day.
Yeah.
You guys think 100 Thieves will be able to make a run at the Making Tokyo?
No.
No.
You don't. But do you think they'll make playoffs? I mean,
Yeah,
it's highly
yeah,
likely
yeah.
they make
Yeah,
playoffs.
they'll make playoffs.
All they have to do is beat
But you just
MIBR.
you don't think they can make top 3?
No. No.
Are you sure?
Who are they beating? Cloud9,
Yes.
Loud, NRG. They need to beat one of those teams.
Yep, that's correct.
Who
Yeah,
they beat?
I don't think they beat Cloud9. I don't think they beat NRG.
No. You think they beat Loud?
It would have to be a really off day from Loud.
Loud have been playing close this entire split. Like, they've been playing close. They haven't looked concrete.
Wait till playoffs, okay?
Wait till playoffs.
You remember the Furia game? You remember the Furia
Remember
game
the
where it looked like
Furia?
they would...
I genuinely, I don't know why I'm just imitating your voice. I have no, I have no actual, no
Here,
concrete
Brent, I'll give you
points.
some cope. They say Cloud9, Loud, NRG, but that's not necessarily true because somebody else could beat one of those teams, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you're facing one of those other teams. But if that's what you're relying on, then yeah, I don't think we can predict that.
No hope
that
for the
boundary.
Hoodie Org.
Not particularly.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm kind of more looking towards LCQ.
I do think that this team looks the best that they've looked all year. Like this match was still against Furia, while they might not be the team that we thought they were. They're still very good, given the fact that number 1 they played them close, and number 2 they just played NRG really close.
Mhm.
It's just that Furia relies a lot on having really good pop off performances from individual players. It was just in last week. This week it was okay. It was more like Khalil coming back to form, but they didn't have that major performance from anybody. That made it look like a little bit more one-sided for 100 Thieves, but still 100 Thieves looked the best that they have all year.
Are 100 Thieves the best team in North America on Haven with the Gecko comp?
No.
I didn't watch it. So I
They
don't
beat
know.
Furia. Furia beat NRG. The Gecko comp's like 3-0, I think, on
No.
Haven or something.
No.
It's good, but no, they're not.
No.
In NA,
The best
you're
North
asking.
American team.
A best, well, whatever.
It's
Best America's
NRG,
team.
isn't
Best
it?
America's team.
Oh, best America's team. Still NRG, isn't it?
I don't know. NRG lost to Furia. 100 Thieves beat Furia. Transitive
This Gecko
property.
comp is
Ladder,
gonna
ladder,
get-
da.
No, this Gecko comp is going to get exposed later on. There's no chance. I'm sorry, but there's some good things about it, but it's not good enough to be like, holy shit, this is not a gimmick. Like, this is real. Everybody should be running this comp. No, I think especially some of the teams that they've played, Leviatán and Furia, in a lot of instances actually misplayed their attack against it significantly, where they're giving Derek way too much like leeway to do what he wants, and info to do what he wants to. That was unrelated to Gecko, but like crucial late round moments have happened because Derek is just able to Hunter's Fury their B hit, and they keep going for that over and over, and he's just causing mad chaos.
I like the comp though. You get so much info from you get more info than the Breach Sova comp, and the Mosh Pit is extremely good at stopping flood rotates. It's extremely good at denying plants. It's just they were just getting crazy value out of it whilst always being able to stack the correct site.
They were playing like a KO, in a sense,
Like a
where
KO.
that
Yeah,
nade
kind of,
comes
yeah.
in, like stops one of the short or long push or whatever site you're hitting, like stops one of the chokes, and then you have some crazy good assist flashes, which I think they're better than KO flashes when they're comboed with things, but in general they're not. This round was insane too. They had some really fast adaptations to some crazy situations, like this pit that went down. They quickly went up into heaven and did a 3-man drop down with a Dizzy flash that just ruined it. And Fury is like, I don't know what they're thinking with that pit, to be honest.
Definitely the best that they've looked. Just all split.
Yeah.
Easily in my mind. I think the Gecko as well, though, just to touch on that, it works best on maps that incentivize you to take that map control on the attack side and hold it early on. Because all the Gecko utils are really good at that, like A-lobby control, garage, things like that. Haven's like a map that really suits that, I think. And
T1 were running it on bind as well. Some of the challengers teams have been.
Bind makes sense as well, right? Because of the importance of like taking showers and be long. So yeah, I think it has legs. It's just, would you rather have something else instead? You know, the other initiators that you run, because you do. I don't know. Gecko is very slow. I think it takes a while to get his util off. You often only find value when he dumps all of his util at once, like together. Like if he's just using it singularly, it has to be used as something else. So there are really limiting factors when you run this. When you're running Sova Gecko, it's like two of the slowest initiators in terms of being able to react fast into stuff. But yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves do play it well.
I have a question about just 100 Thieves in general. Why are they constantly doing things in the meta that no one else is trying? Like,
yeah, they're probably taking their own way, aren't they?
Yeah, like the Omen on Icebox way back. Like they took so long to run a Harbor Viper on Pearl. They were running the Cypher on Lotus forever. Like they're just doing their own thing, which is great because it shows that they can come up with creative ideas and they can eventually be on top of the meta. But they also like are never implementing the things that other teams are doing, which are clearly the most optimal, you know? And that's a weakness.
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for you. What'd you say, Seth?
This is Nate Shot's input. He says, this worked really well in one of my ranked games. So let's do this.
Or he's getting boosted by people.
Like,
What the
like
heck?
as soon as Sean left, Mike's doesn't have the spine to stand up to Nate Shot. He's just worried about his job. So Nate Shot's now just bossing him around.
I'm not just
takes
pulling
off
that
his
shit
mask.
out.
His angel. Holy shit.
Isn't Nate Shot constantly getting boosted?
I don't
I'm not just
know.
pulling this out of nowhere, am I?
I don't know.
What
I don't
is that? How
know.
is that relevant?
Because I tune into his rank games, and he's always like queuing with people smurfing. He's just like me, for real. Like, he's just getting fucking boosted hard.
Oh god. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is completely useless. The topic title is, did we learn anything from EG MIBR? And I think I can say the answer is no for me. Just no. Just this was an
skipped this
absolute
one.
dick and ball crushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I was in the green room. I didn't watch this game.
They just ran him over. It wasn't close. There was nothing happening. I think Murray's won the Bagra door, by the way.
Finally! Holy crap! Finally!
There we go. Oh, no, wait, no, I don't think he did. Wait, I think it was Tui's or something like that.
Oh no! How could you avoid it?
wait. I'm going to have to source it now.
Oh no!
I'm going to have to source
For
it.
reference, the Bagra door is a Brazilian. Noin is putting out like a poll every single week on Twitter to find out who's the biggest catfish in Brazil, in Portuguese. That's what it's called. Which is just the biggest bot of the week. And Mures has been on there like so many times,
I'm going to put it in
and
the
he's
chat.
avoided it every time.
That's like the Dario award in the LCK that Monty and Doa started years and years ago. It's just like somebody comes in like pretty hyped up, but it just fucking does nothing and has like the worst possible season.
Yeah.
But weekly.
It was Tui's that won it this week.
Oh man!
Look at that.
Dude,
Wow, fun.
It's crazy.
It was a
He was
bad,
close.
bad week to be a South American fan.
Oh my god, they went
Yeah.
0-5, bro.
Yeah.
0-5. But yeah,
The North America versus South America battle, right? It was 4-0 for the South American teams, and then EG beat Crew, and suddenly the floodgates fucking opened. And since then, the North American teams have, I think, only dropped another 4 games total, and they've
Yes.
won 10.
Mhm.
So it's like they were 4-0 and then 4-10.
they're now 14-8.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Was this the first game of the day?
Yes.
Yeah,
no, I was doing the
It
first games
wasn't?
of the day.
It was the second game of the day.
Yeah.
But this was on the day that was like incredibly fast, wasn't it?
No, the incredibly fast day was Wait, was it? Was this on Monday? It was the only game of the day or something?
No.
No, that was
It was- it
Cloud9.
was the
Cloud9
first-
Leviathan was the
It was
on
the
a
first
Monday.
day, and then the second day was Sentinels crew started, and this was not that. I don't fucking know. Why is that relevant?
Because I was waking up at like 4 a.m. to watch the Americas games in Korea, and then I remember I just woke up late one day and I just like missed the entire day.
No,
Demon
yeah,
One-
it was the Sentinels crew day that there was energy loud right after, and that one was really fast.
Demon One had a very entertaining post-match interview where he basically just said, "I am him."
Do you want me
and
to play
NRG
it?
haven't played against me. Yeah, did you want to play it with audio? Yeah, let's do it.
Demon One's a beast. I've been
He's
looking
a
at some
freak.
of his jet knife stats because I'm trying to work on something.
Well,
And
next
he has 0.95 kills per time he uses his ult, which is
That's
the
crazy.
highest. It's insane. Anyways, go ahead.
week, you're going to have one of the same performances you did today. Energy's going to be, Energy's going to be huge. What are you looking at to make that match yours? Obviously, a lot of people say they're #1 right now, even with an undefeated team.
I think they're a good team, but like they haven't faced me in a match yet, you know. So good luck, Energy.
Hell yeah. All right, Demon One, thank you so much.
I love how he
Chad.
just says "I will" immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
But, he's got the right spirit for sure.
Hello.
Also, he can't go to Tokyo again. I mean, I feel like I have to
mean, that's
reiterate this
so
every time.
Tragic.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I literally don't want EG to qual now all of a sudden. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has that been like actually hard confirmed that he's like 100% can't go if they make it?
Not hard confirmed, but he said it on stream. I mean, I
I'm
don't
assuming
know.
that they did, like Leo was saying at the beginning of the episode, where they've had to like start the visa process for champs like 6 months before. Japan's also a country that's really difficult with visas.
But what I
just the
don't
immigration
understand
stuff.
is, if
Yeah,
Demon
but-
1 can't go, does that mean all of the new additions to teams can't go? Does that mean something can't go if Paper X make it to Tokyo? Does that mean,
Well,
That's a good point.
you know?
Actually, I actually don't even know.
Working
Was something
Russian,
already
isn't it?
playing within Japan, or was he playing from home online?
He was playing from home, was he not? Because he's like from the east side of Russia. I think. I might be wrong with that.
Which,
I think
by the
I
way,
think he
is
might
an
have been
enti-
playing in Japan.
An
But I'm not
entire
100%
world of tactical shooters that we just are not aware of. I was playing Counter Strike in Korea, and it like defaults you to the Tokyo servers, and it felt like I was playing on the European servers again because I was just getting called like just all sorts of like horrible names by just the East Russian players, which I'm not going to repeat. But it was just it was very nostalgic in a way. I felt like I was back in like 2014.
The Plat Chat Valorant chat was very useful last week, so I've opened them up in order to give us insight, and already they have served their purpose. They've said something was in person in Japan. So there we go. Thank you, chat. So yeah, presumably he has a visa, so that's not a real worry. But yeah, I don't know about some of the other people that might be involved, but whatever. I guess that's a question for another time. I can't really think of another team that's.
And you just rip on your mic.
It sounds like he's
I just I just shot myself. No, I don't know what. Let me see if I can recreate it.
Oh, it's
I recreated it.
an absolute casserole down there.
Oh my god.
All right, let's move on. Sentinels played against Crew this week, and I genuinely thought they were going to lose this game. I really did. In fact, I was hoping for it. I was hoping that they would lose this game. And somehow we persuaded Doug, and who else did we have to persuade?
I was me. I was the guy
Oh,
persuading. Obviously, I predicted
Did that
Sentinels.
count on the predictions for you guys?
Yeah, probably.
Like that you had to change it.
It
Yeah,
shouldn't do really,
I
should it?
did.
Because it was under
It
duress.
Did
It
I
counted.
pred Sentinels? I can't even remember.
We haven't been
yes, you
fighting
did.
every game if you've been off the episode.
I've been filling in the I've been getting confused because I've been filling in the preds for VCT, which Kurt also does, and also Plat Chat, and then sometimes I don't remember which one I
don't
did.
know.
Yeah, so this game was a weird one. I personally, listen, I'm seeing articles, videos of people just trying to tap into the Sentinels fan base by giving them clickbait titles like, they look so much better with Marved calling, and this kind of shit. I'm like, man, you just scraped a win against a team that's going 0-9, man. How are you on the hope already?
Oh, my favorite was there's an actual Reddit post, and I think it got deleted, but it was a guy saying the title was "We Owe Rob Moore an Apology," and they wrote a whole like 2-paragraph post about how like he made the changes that needed to be done, and they look so much better now. They like have playoff contention; it's still alive, and like we all need to apologize to him. And everyone's like, "Bro, they fucking beat Crew."
Yeah.
It doesn't mean shit.
Least delusional Sentinels fan just posting on the fucking subreddit. Although they did get called out for that because I saw the same post and was reading it, and everyone was like, "You are on the fucking Perk 30 fish fillet, my friend. Like, what are you doing? What are you saying? What is this guy saying right now?"
The only thing that I've seen scrolling casually through Reddit as well is, here's how Sentinels can still make playoffs. Here's how Sentinels can actually make playoffs. The one way, the 3 ways. I made a flowchart.
Me and 4 of my friends sat down for 18 consecutive hours. It's fucking ridiculous.
People, there are so many Sentinels fans. It's
Why
crazy.
aren't we jumping on that?
Blows my mind every time.
I mean, we
Why
kind
don't
of
we
did.
take
Did you look at our
We never take
episode last
advantage.
week?
We never take advantage of
Yeah, we
Sentinels
never take advantage.
in
No,
our SEO or anything like that. It's
We usually pick the most niche things to target the smallest demographics.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like Ascension formats.
Yeah. I was not impressed with this game.
So how do they make playoffs?
Brother.
They need 100 Thieves to lose.
All
The
right,
MIBR.
Let me get one of the 50 flowcharts.
It's like, isn't it like 5 things that need to happen?
Let me
They
pull up
did the first
flowchart.
part. They did the first part, which was winning this, but they need to. The most likely scenario that they win is if they win 2-0 in the next game, right?
It really just doesn't matter what scenarios exist because none of them are happening.
Because 100 Thieves need to lose.
It doesn't matter. None of them are happening.
You can't say this. What if
Yes,
it
I
happens?
can. It's not going to happen.
No,
What if it
MIBR will.
happens?
It's not going to happen.
MIBR
He's trolling. He's trolling. What is he saying?
If Sentinels make playoffs, I will shave off my mustache and attach them as eyebrows. And I will go around for the rest of the playoffs with my mustache as eyebrows. It's not happening.
Who do we have to pay?
That is so funny.
fucking amazing.
That is
Yeah,
actually
so-
so funny.
Basically, they're kind of giga-fucked unless they get a 2-0 win over Furia.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happens even if they... Right,
Yeah.
first of all, are they winning against Furia? No.
Probably not.
Secondly, even if they win 2-1 and get that big win over Furia, they need EG to beat NRG, which isn't likely.
Doable.
They need Leviatán to beat Loud, which
Doable.
isn't likely. And they need MIBR to beat 100 Thieves.
Yeah, doable.
Not
If
gonna
these
happen.
stars align, I'm not going to do anything
meant to be.
drastic, but I will look forward to Josh's new eyebrows.
Yeah,
It's not-
Josh
it's
has
not
got new
happening.
eyebrows, and Sentinels are going to Tokyo.
It's not happening. Wait, I'll put my fucking mustache as eyelashes. it's just, I'll put them anywhere you like. It's not happening.
Even if they do, they're losing first 2 rounds anyways. Like, it's
What, in
irrelevant.
push?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the
You don't talk about the game?
yeah, should we talk
Not
about the
really.
game? Man, I don't even know what to talk about, man. It was like,
Yeah, what is that to talk about?
Josh,
Is it-
how was Marv's IGLing? You did some sideline reporting.
Marv was. I'll say this, okay? I appreciate the fact that their sub, who isn't really a part of their team, that wasn't involved at the beginning of the creation of this roster, is the player to take that burden of responsibility upon his shoulders and try and really help the team survive, right? I think that that's extremely respectable from Marv. Right, I didn't listen to all of the comms. You know, I've got shit to do as well. I can't just be sat there listening to their comms the whole
Oh,
time.
you're
yourself
listening,
a
you're
professional.
listening to the comms.
Yeah, for pretty much the whole of the first map.
Yeah.
And then I think I caught another half later on, but I can't even remember which one it was.
You can do
but
that.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that in Americas.
Son of a bitch.
But I mean, also a lot of the teams come in English, which they wouldn't necessarily be. Oh, actually, a lot of the Pacific teams do too, don't they?
Yeah, even T1 most comms at least 50% in English. It seems like.
So I already talked about this when I did that sideline report, but Marv was talking quite a bit at the beginning, trying to set up big game plans, talking about economy, their positioning, like trying to keep everybody motivated, that kind of stuff at the start, and then the more the half went on, the more Zekken and Sassy took over in terms of calling, because they're just more active in terms of how, their roles as well. So I think it was more natural for them to have impact. And they were calling like things that they wanted to exploit on the other team, things that they thought they should be doing, like macro elements. I think what they seem to be lacking, like, here's the thing. It's great that they have so many players with a lot of experience that can all chime in. And I didn't hear that when Def was calling for the team as much, because Def calls a lot himself. He's like me while I'm trying to tell Mimi not to feed. I'm fucking, Mimi, go here. Mimi, use this. Bren, dog for me. But it is kind of good that Sentinels had more voices, I think, than I'd heard before. But at the same time, they were really lacking, like, the decisive action comms of, like, we're going to flood this, get ready to flood, for example, right? It was much more wishy-washy, and players calling what they wanted to do, but very few, like, big picture calls, which, of course, it's going to be like that. They don't have IGL experience. They don't have experience playing together, really, so...
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have, like, the tactics or deep strat book or anything like that, too, like, you don't have those things to rely on and fall back into where everybody will know what you're talking about when you say something like that. So it's not surprising to me. I think some of that stuff will come with time, but I saw moments where Marv's making a call specifically, like, you could tell he hasn't done it in a while, and he's also inexperienced, like, at a top level. Like the round where they walked into B, for example, on Lotus, like, late. Seems like a really good call. Seems like a very, like, natural thing, but you're not accounting for the fact that Keznit is moving around with the op, and he already got a pick on the round, right? That sort of thing. They also required a role swap for Zekken on the first map, and in order to make the double controller work, while Pancata is playing on Kobo still. And Zekken farmed, bro.
Zekken does the most. He is so damn flexible.
Mm-hmm. He's a crazy good player.
Yeah.
He's actually still, like, I know that his team's been kind of sucking, and actually he's been getting brutalized in some of their matches too.
Yeah.
But my faith in Zekken as a player has not actually gone down over the course of this season. I think he's still demonstrated some incredible qualities, and I think it's very much more to do with the team just...
Yeah, I think you can track Zekken's performances based off of the environment in the team that week, right? Like, specifically, like, how the rest of the team is doing and how emotionally the team is doing too. Like, early on in the season is probably okay. Things are not going crazy. Nobody's getting cut left and right. He's not being forced to make rule changes. And then all of a sudden, like, they make the rule changes. It's like, okay, let's go. We got these rule changes. He's a god. And then it's like, wait a second. Like, we're actually sticking with this. Like, this is real. Like, we actually have to rely on this. And all of a sudden he's playing, like, against top duelists on the other side. Like, you're going to flounder in those situations when you're that young and still, like, being relied on to have the most significant impact. That's a lot of pressure for him. He's still only, 17, right? Like, he's super young.
Yeah.
I'd like to move on from this game, though.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
I feel like we're just spending so much time.
Let's talk about Pancata.
Yeah?
Yeah. No.
Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Why are you doing that to us? All right. So the games that really mattered this week, the two games that really mattered, we're going to talk about. And I want to start with the final game of the week, which is Cloud9 Leviathan. Because this game seriously mattered for Leviathan's chances. And Leviathan's next game is now a must-win for them playing against Loud. And they absolutely got destroyed. I mean, like an enormous tier difference between these two teams. On maps that actually we've seen really good things from Leviathan on, right? We saw that their Lotus has been great in the past, or rather, like, was good against certain teams. Obviously, Cloud9 are just way better. And their Haven has been historically probably their second best map behind their Ascent, although that's not the case anymore. But they got pounded into the dust.
Yeah, I just stopped watching their games. I just like I used to watch.
You're the
whenever
Pacific
I was
expert.
up late,
It's fine.
and
It's
like the
fine.
things would be on. And then now, if it's like 4 in the morning and the matches start, and I see Lev, I just go, "Oh, fuck it," and I just stop watching because it just isn't really worth my time. I don't know what's happened to them.
That is crazy to say.
But it's I can absolutely see that point of view.
Yeah.
Right? They got
What the fuck am I gonna study them for?
No. I mean, Cloud9 look good.
they got owned, and they were like trying to hang on, like with they started implementing light armor strat this week. Just in the beginning of that game on Lotus, I think that's like the worst start you could possibly have to against Cloud9. It's literally just Leaf running around, killing Taqualia, and then running to the other side of the map and having impact. It was insane how Taqualia was getting just absurdly abused. Absurdly abused. Wow.
Yeah. Why not?
He started like 0-5 against him. Like
Leaf is goated.
he's so
Fucking
good.
monster.
I'm kind of I'm kind of annoyed that we don't get to see him play with Ye, because I had that hot take at the beginning of the year that Leaf was going to look better than Ye, and now that just it's just silly to revisit at this point completely. But I swear,
Well, I mean, Josh, he does look better than Ye. Ye is
Well, yeah.
0-5 in DSG. Like, that's a
Exactly.
Challengers League.
exactly. But actually, Ye is just Leaf is just such an insanely talented player. Everything about what he does, from the prep work to the read on the game to his mechanics, like everything is incredible. And contrast that to Taco, who's struggling to keep his head afloat, even just playing Jet on the stage currently. And anytime he picks up anything else, like the raise has just been shocking.
Yeah.
Why did they make that change?
No clue.
I don't know.
No clue. I thought he was
Yeah.
actually like an important factor when he was playing Jet on some of those retakes too. Like,
Yep.
obviously we replicated the Leviathan, which was obviously just like an on the fly thing where he's updrafting through whatever. But there's so many moments where he was doing that, even against 100 Thieves. Like, not necessarily even that original game against Sentinels. He was impactful on this map in particular.
Yeah,
I don't know why they made that
change.
change. And he was not finding any value whatsoever with any of his early nades, any of his double satchels, nothing like that. And he was consistently going for it over and over and over, despite that stuff not working. It was really weird. Leviathan just not adapting throughout the game.
Yeah. Leviathan look like they are lost. I came into this game really wanting them to show off a different look, a different playbook, to look, dynamic. And to be honest, they didn't even get a chance because they were just so far behind Cloud9. They didn't even get to show anything that they were working on. Like, you need a close game in order to show, we've tweaked this, and we have a different look here, and we have this retake and this strat. They just got boomed. They just got absolutely fucking boomed.
I think there was like the beginning of the game, I was like, oh my goodness, like they're just dry walking down on defense. That's not something I've really seen from them. They're usually like sticking tight to some of their stuff, but it got ripped apart so fast that they abandoned it, which was, I mean, sad to see because it was the only real change. Yeah, I think on Haven, I was like, they tried to walk out on A a few times, but they ended up just smoking and nading anyways after like peeking a little bit. It's just kind of silly. I don't know.
Cloud9's ecos are unreal.
Yeah. And I
They're
always
unreal.
think back to the interview where was it Zeppa or was it Zelsis? I can't remember, but he was
One of
just
the two.
basically, it was one of the questions that was brought up, which was, how are you so good at your eco rounds? And I think that they just have the right approach to it, which is, I think subconsciously or consciously, a lot of teams, a lot of players, they go into an eco round and they're like, let's just get this over with so we get our guns. Let's just fucking let's do something crazy. I don't know, but they really do treat every single eco round like they have guns. They treat it with utmost seriousness in terms of just how they play it, and they're so good at just one of the core strengths of Cloud9 when you watch this team is how well they all play off of each other, and like they're ducking and weaving and taking really good fights and distracting at the right times, and setting themselves up for nice crossfires. And it's beautiful against teams that are playing like really slow and cautiously when they know they're up against an eco round. And you see this all the time because it's a pretty fair thing to do when you're up against an eco round and you have weapons. You're like, okay, let's slow this down in case they do something funky, in case they pull out some crazy shit. But Cloud9 don't really pull out too much crazy shit, I feel like, on their ecos. They're just really good at picking apart teams that are trying to play incredibly cautious. And then they get a one-man advantage, and then they pick up a gun, and then suddenly as soon as they get that bit of extra firepower, and even when they get fucking stingers and frenzies in their hands, they're still holding their ground against rifles. This team is so unique, and that they're really good with those weapons still. Like they're just fantastic at them. They put a lot of practice in with it, and I just think their core style works like amazingly for how they want to play these eco rounds. They're just fantastic at it. It's not off the back of like prep or crazy ideas.
I mean, Jake and Rooney's sheriff accuracy is filthy.
Yeah,
it's
it
filthy.
is nuts. It's nuts.
And then they're trading when they have the other three swinging around with stingers is on another level. Like the coordination of this team, it's like it's incredible. I made the hot take during this game that I think Cloud9 are playing the second best Valorant at the moment behind Fnatic. And it's for this reason that the coordination between the team looks incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's all going to fall to pieces in playoffs or Tokyo. Like, I don't know if this team isn't necessarily that experienced, and even the most experienced players have not been up at the highest levels in their Valorant careers, but I think at the moment they're playing incredibly, incredibly well.
The fact that they're able to perform, somebody brought up the pressure. I think Doug asked me about like the pressure for these guys later on during the cast or something like that. And one of the things I was thinking about immediately was Rooney and Jake. Like, while they might be inexperienced on big stages, they clutch so much. They have such big impact in eco rounds so much that I don't think that's going to be an issue for them at all. Like, I feel like I've already seen enough proof that they can deal with situations where their heart is pounding, yada yada yada. Obviously, a big crowd and stuff like that is going to change it significantly. But like, I don't know.
Off that point, I think it really helps that they came into the season with everyone having no expectations at all for the team. Like, sure. I think that really helps, actually, if you're like new to that big stage and everyone is rating you as like a bottom 3 team and they're expecting you to lose every single match. The bar's in the ground at that point. Like the people are already having those expectations for you, and it's just about proving them wrong at that point, which I think is way easier compared to, for example, a team like Sentinels that's like one of the newly formed rosters that's come in as like a whole,
hyped up.
And the fan base has tons of expectations on them, and that reflects in terms of just management's shitty decisions as well. We can always loop it back into Sentinels. There's always a way. There's always a way to get the SEO going. Loop it back into Sen. But yeah, you guys ever watch boxing?
Not very often.
Not very often. Neither do I. Tyson Fury. Yeah. One of the things that sticks out in my mind is Tyson Fury is a boxer. Is such the word that was described in when I was watching the last time I watched boxing, which Josh was with you in a hotel room in Washington.
That was a long time ago. That was
a long time ago. You remember?
Early 2020.
But one of the things that sticks in my mind, and I was like, wow, it's such a good way to describe it, is the way he fights is he's a quirky fighter, which means that it's like a lot of feints, a lot of like baiting out movements, and you never really know what he's going to do. There he is, Tyson Fury. He looks so fucking British. He's like just almost there with a metamorphosis where he's already lost his hair. He's got the gut. And you're just ready to see him in Spain, just sunburnt. He's like so close to the metamorphosis. But he's a quirky fighter, which was what they would describe him with in that moment. And it sticks in my mind because when I watch some of these teams play, in particular Cloud9, I think of them as the quirky fighter team, where they're just picking and choosing these awkward timings that are fantastic. They pick apart teams all the time. It is just the bread and butter of what makes them such a good team. But yeah, that's my boxing analogy for all
it feels like
meat sports enthusiasts.
Paper X in a way to me when I watch them.
I mean, when you said quirky fighter, I was thinking Paper X.
They're so aggressive and they just get away with it. It feels like them, but with an IGL and more strategy involved. But they're a terrifying team, and I mean, obviously the expectations that they're going to go over to Tokyo. And in my head, I'm like, TRX going to get eliminated by Cloud9 again 2 years later at the first, or the second international of the year.
There's no way.
This is a thing that can happen.
No way, it might happen, but
I mean, it's possible. So I want to ask another question here, another analogy to a different team that we've seen MCE coach. Is this another guard story? Where, yeah, sure, the guard were all inexperienced players that won their event, looked fantastic, turn up to the LAN 0-2. They got seeded straight into playoffs, I believe, and got 0-2'd. So it's not like, they got beaten by the worst teams at the global event, but they, didn't really perform up to expectations. Could this happen again?
I don't think so. Because the key difference being the core of the Cloud9 team have had international stage experience before, I think, or at least up to a reasonable level, like with Zephyr and Leaf being that. And I think of the success that Cloud9 has as a team. For me, the way they play, I haven't listened into the comms, but the way they play, it seems to me that I imagine a lot of the mid-rounding and adaptations is heavily being called by Zephyr, Leaf, and Celsius as like a trio. And Rooney is calling probably big picture stuff, is how I see it. But a lot of that in-the-moment mid-rounding is being called by the veteran core, who are being able to spot the decisions being made. And they've got Jake and Rooney who are able to just immediately follow up on whatever's asked of them. That's how I see this team operating. I don't
think that's the way how it is. Based on listening from them and also looking at how Rooney and Jake play with them, they're always on top of the flashes. They're always on top of whatever stun they need to do. It almost feels like in a lot of cases they're the ones calling it. I've seen instances of all those things happening, but I think as well, Zelsis has stated in interviews, like it's literally everybody coming.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're dead silent and they're just only following instruction, but I think just it helps to have experienced players who are calling those timings.
For sure, and that's important when you're thinking about the question that Josh is asking. But I think Rooney and Jake, to me, have proven that that's not entirely the case, and I think that the experience of them helps them to be as vocal as possible in mid rounding as well. You know what I mean? But to me, absolutely not. They're not like the guard. Why? Because I see no signs of them visibly, audibly, whatever, within the game itself, of having any sort of, deal with pressure. Where
I don't think we saw that for the guard before they turned up.
Absolutely, we did. In a couple of the games where the guard, like especially I think late regular season, they ended up losing to actually did they go undefeated in that run in the regular season? The first loss I think was against Optic, and I could visibly see Net like getting frustrated and getting exposed and getting like he was like 0-5 or something in first deaths, like, and I could tell like he was getting tilted. And I saw the same thing with Trent, not as visibly tilted, but like within the game, like not having the same impact constantly throughout the games that they were losing and stuff like that. Where, I don't see any of that with Cloud9. In fact, I see the complete opposite, which is why I keep thinking back to how they're playing in the clutch, how they're playing in the eco rounds, how they're playing the must-win rounds. Those are the signs I'm looking at.
I'm really interested to see this team play in playoffs. I think there's just some fantastic matches that we, early in the season, Cloud9 weren't quite ready for, but now it feels like they're playing what I assume is going to be their peak. I mean, who knows? Maybe they can get better from here, but they're playing to an incredible level currently. So I just want to see them rematch against Loud, man. I just want to see the rematch against Loud.
Yeah.
And NRG, to be honest with you, because NRG are looking fantastic too. Okay, let's move on though to NRG. They beat Loud. They took out the undefeated team in Americas, and it was a masterclass. It was a finesse masterclass again. The conditioning on split was superb. They dismantled them. They win 2-0. It just felt like NRG picked two spots. To me, NRG picked two spots on the map where they knew that they were going to find success. They picked A ramp on their attack side of split, and they picked B on their Pearl map, and they just... Was it B actually on their attack side? I can't remember. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But anyway, the A ramp stuff in particular was extremely brutal, and Aspas got completely neutralized. This team just looked like they weren't the same.
Yeah. NRG are so fucking good. Again, and I think a large portion of it, I wasn't really expecting this as much, but I remember, I think it was to you, Josh. I was talking about Victor as like a bit of a underrated player in terms of just the fact that a lot of players will play their role that they have, and like they'll either play like Sentinel, whatever, Viper, Killjoy, and they have their role, they understand where they're supposed to play in most comps. But Victor's chopping and changing so much. I mean, the guy is playing hard initiators for the hard kind of initiator role, which is the duelist, either Raze or Jet, or he's sometimes playing initiator, although less so recently, and then actually flexing over to the Sentinel role quite a bit as well. And it completely changes up the way you're supposed to think about the game and how you operate in a team composition. And it's actually really quite difficult to do. But Victor just does it so well. And I imagine this is a fucking godsend to a coach like Chet, who's trying to cook up different ideas. And he just knows he has a player like Victor who can slot into that role. And I really do. I think we just need to be putting more respect on Victor's name. I mean, it's easy to say after this game because he absolutely dominated. Just in terms of the numbers. But seriously, he's been doing it for a good few weeks now, ever since they've kind of got their shit together, where he's just been that player.
They didn't get their shit together. He was a fucking beast.
Yeah, and he was still a beast.
And he was the only player fragging when like Ardis and who was the other player that went completely... oh, was it Ardis and Som?
Well, they were like,
and he was always kind of, again, might be a bit of hindsight analysis going on here, but he was always kind of looked over as well with the Optic core a lot of the time because it was, you had Marved and Ye who were obviously putting up incredible numbers and great performances, but part of that was because Victor's paving the way by creating so much space with just his play style. He's always been quite a sacrificial player in terms of just playing what's needed and doing the right thing for what the team needs, and I really do respect that quite a bit. I think he's a core reason why the team is doing so well.
The sacrificial playstyle definitely baited me into believing that he didn't really have that ability to hard control the game anymore because they were just running that so often last year.
Yeah.
And when Victor had those rare moments where he was asked to do a bit more than that, he struggled to live up to it last year. But with Ye off the team and more responsibility on his shoulders, he's definitely stepped up to it in 2023. I mean, he's putting up performances like this where he just picks up the Raze again and he has like 300, 400 ACS or something. He just destroyed. But I can't get over how hard of an anti this was. They destroyed Aspas completely. They were pre-aiming his positions. He likes to play with the AWP.
Yep.
They were rinsing like the setups that he likes to go for. Cowan Zine got destroyed in the back A side as well. And when you put that much pressure A ramp, it just opens up the B site and mid completely. So they just shoved a couple rounds in there too. I don't know. That's an extremely coherent, solid game plan win to me.
Yeah, I mean, for the fact that Victor and Ardis like come in so fucking strong together, like just double diving on both sides of the map constantly, and I think something that was maybe the reason why we got the sacrificial lamb idea for Victor is that he never had somebody who was like getting up close with him, not able to satchel in with him, not able to dive with him, whatever, with Neon, because that just wasn't in the comp. You see here when there's somebody else dragging the attention, how much he can actually get as well while he's up in the front lines. It's insanely good. But with that said, I don't like, yeah, it was a stomp for NRG, but I would say Loud definitely had an off day. I think you're right about the anteing and stuff like that, but I also don't think as of right now that Loud is working too hard to stop that. And so I'm not like looking at this and thinking, oh my goodness, NRG, if they play Loud again, it's a hard counter.
They're running the same shit on Split since EG hard anti-stratted them in like week 4 or something. Like they haven't even changed it in 3 weeks.
Yep.
There's no way they're coming into playoffs and just doing this exact same setup.
Yeah. And I think like they're totally happy with that, obviously based off of their position. But in prior games, like for example, the game against Crew, which they narrowly snuck out, they're fine with that, and they look okay with doing the same thing, even if it's getting antied, because they had performances from the players that are just insane sometimes. Counting nasty on the anchor in a lot of those games. Tui's just pops off randomly. But like when you're actually playing up against a super, super competent team that is antiing it, you can't put yourself in those same sort of scenarios where you could pick apart a little mistake here and there by the team that's, trying to anti you. It's not the same.
I do want to ask the question. Do we think...
Oh, don't ask it.
What?
Don't
What?
ask it.
You don't even know what question I'm going to ask, man.
No.
This one's a real question.
You're
It's a
gonna-
real
you're
question.
gonna
It's not a
ask-
troll question.
Is it possible that Loud can't make it to Tokyo? Is
No,
it
I'm not going to ask
possible?
that. I'm actually asking the opposite of that, weirdly enough, which is that I feel like a lot of people, I mean, myself included, Loud are not playing the best Valorant in Americas right now, right? But that doesn't mean they're not capable of playing the best Valorant in Americas. It just means that currently they are not, because they've already got the position locked up. And so zooming out a little bit, you've got DRX, who we're going to talk about later, who clearly to me look like they're not trying 100% right now. Loud, not trying 100% in my opinion too. And Fnatic, mate, I don't know. Fnatic look like they might be at everyone else's 100% while they're playing at 80%. So I don't even know what to think about Fnatic. But I assume that they've got some new stuff ready for playoffs in Tokyo too. But how should we be thinking about these three teams that did so well that they didn't really have to show everything? Is it stupid to count them out as a top spot? Is it stupid to say they could get upset? They're looking like they don't have much to show. Are we expecting all three of those top teams to come into playoffs with something new and spectacular?
All three top teams what? You mean?
I mean
Loud,
Loud,
DRX,
DRX, and Fnatic. Do you have faith in all three of them that they're going to come to playoffs with something new prep that looks spectacular?
No.
I have faith in two of them.
Loud is a team that I have not the most doubts for, but I think it's clear that they have been doing their experimentation. They had that, like, their core comps that they play, like the double duelist and split, for example. They experimented with the Gecko, and that saw the most success there, but on split, but it didn't really work out. They've been clearly like testing shit during the regular season, but I think their core game plan really does revolve around making sure that they can play the double controller comps, the double wallers, the Viper and the Harbor. And they, out of any teams, I think they played the most maps out of any team. I think they play the most best of threes, best of fives, at least with this core roster since lock-in. And they have tons of footage that's available that's now getting to the point where they're playing the same shit, and you can tell. Like, part of NRG is a team, they love to counter-strat. They love to have that footage so that they can pick apart teams' defaults and really just like fucking ruin a player's day. Like Aspas, for example, normally gets away with murder, but like you said, they were pre-aiming him and all sorts. I think I'd have more faith in DRX and Fnatic not being pressured, especially because those regions seem more top heavy. I don't know if this is just me as well, because I don't pay as much attention to them, but those regions as well feel like the top teams, the heavy hitter, does not need to try as much compared to America, which seems to be much more in flux with the Americas.
No,
like
that's not just you not paying attention. It has been like that in Americas.
Yeah.
Americas has had more parity than the other leagues, yeah. Seth, are you thinking of the same two? You said you had faith in two of them. Were you also thinking of not Loud?
DRX Fnatic.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's hard to, I guess, put in the words. It's just kind of like one of those feelings that I have. But just, I think both DRX and Fnatic at least have shown more innovation overall in their history. So maybe it's not as much as that I don't believe that Loud can't innovate, but more that I have way more faith in the ability of DRX and Fnatic to be able to innovate, whereas Loud haven't necessarily like shown me as much, I guess. That makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, Loud came up with this big meta-defining idea of the Viper Harbor compositions. Yeah. So to move away from that would very much be to move away from what they've been having as their main source of success in 2023, although they went back to their normal comp for Ascent and they absolutely obliterated. Who did they play against when they pulled that out for the first time? I can't remember. Was it Cloud9?
Yeah,
yes, it was Cloud9.
Yeah.
And they dominated them. They won like 9 rounds on their attack side playing the meta comp instead of their Viper Harbor comp. And they went crazy. Paolo, what do you think? Are you counting Loud out?
No. I mean,
I'm not counting them out, sorry.
Even with the answer to the question,
yeah.
Maybe I'm leaning to agree with these guys, but I think I think even if they stuck with the same stuff, guys, I think they'd be totally fine. Like, even going into Tokyo, I think they have such depth of strat books for all these
Yeah, they-
Harbor Viper comps and stuff that like I don't think that they can get hard antied or anything like that like down the line. And even on split, if they stuck with the same thing too, even though I've seen proof that like you can rip apart that that mid orb and stuff like that, I think if you have a better day from Ospas, sure, he might have been getting antied and pre-aimed and whatever, but he was also just whiffing a lot. Like, let's not take that away too. Like, I don't think you're going to have many of those games when it comes to realistic scenarios where there is pressure. I think Ospas lives up to that in most cases. So even if that was the case, it'd be fine.
Bro.
With that said, I don't think the narrative of them changing things.
It's such a good picture. His fucking face.
If only he had no pants on.
Yeah. The
Trophy with some very important placement there.
The box is clear in the middle.
Yeah, that would work.
I think they're going to come out with some new shit, guys. I don't think that they're
so.
sitting like.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think they're going to get destroyed. I agree with your point. Like that, I don't think. But that's not the question. Josh's question wasn't like, which of these teams is going to get destroyed? It's like which. But no, it was which of these teams is going to innovate. Like, do we expect these top teams in each region to be coming out with new shit? Right? It's the innovation aspect, and that comes down to time. Like, that's the limiting factor, is how much time do you have to actually prep that new shit. And teams like DRX and Fnatic right now are fucking coasting and have been coasting for quite some time at the tippity top. They don't have to put server time, prep time, scrim time during the regular season when they're playing against X opponent. They can actually start to innovate a lot earlier than a team like Loud that's getting pushed on a regular basis. That's why I think they can.
Just because they're getting pushed, that makes you think that they're putting in server time to these matches?
Because I think they'd have to put. It's just the reality. If you're having close maps and losing maps on stuff that you're playing your regular comps on, you're going to have to be putting time. Yes, but but they're going to have to be reflecting on that. They have to.
I don't think we saw any evidence for that. I think they ran back the same strats that they've been doing, apart from their Ascent comp where they changed it. They basically just did the same thing for the entire split and won enough that they stayed winning. I don't think they've put in. I think what I've seen actually is, apart from the game against Furia and the game against Cloud9, I've seen Loud run the same shit over and over that makes me think they're cooking something in the background.
Okay.
That's my read on it.
I think that they'll probably come out and have some new stuff. I just think that as far as like grandiose new strategy type stuff, I just have like slightly lower expectations compared to Fnatic and DRX.
Yeah, I don't know whether it'll be brand new comps. I feel like DRX and Fnatic are going to bring something creative and colorful to the playoff picture, perhaps. Whereas I think for Loud, it might even just be the same comps that they've been running, but a very different feel of how they run the same comps. Like, they're not just doing the same Viper Rob in mid that you can anti in the same positions that Aspas is playing. Like, they'll add much more creative, like, repushes in the mid round and playing from different positions, and yeah, just all sorts of different looks to the way that they play their comps. Okay, I do want to move us on, though. We have predictions in a second too, but
yay,
I have a very important announcement.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh,
very important announcement. This episode is sponsored. This episode, we're making money. Ladies and gentlemen,
oh my
the
God.
bag.
Oh,
The bag. The bag.
Yes!
And who is that sponsor? It's Manscaped.
Yes!
It's manscaped.com. Okay, so summer is coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? Are you, the gamers out there, ready to unveil your beach bod? Manscaped is here to ensure your body is ready for the wild with their game-changing full body grooming and hygiene products. Don't be the guy at the beach with Austin Powers chest hair. And if you grew some winter man tits, the least you can do is make sure they're hairless. And that, to me, feels targeted to me as a host, frankly. I don't know whether other people are getting the same copy from Manscaped, but that one just felt personal. That one felt personal. It's time to get ready for Hot Guy Summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code VALOCHAT20. So if you go to the Manscaped website, you can see this Performance Package 4.0. It pops off. It's got the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got, you know, crop preserver, a weed whacker, which is for your nose hairs as well. The boxers are low-key some of the most comfortable boxers I've ever had. I wear them on the regular, which, I don't know, it's just free advertising that I probably shouldn't be giving out, but, you
Who
know.
are you showing your boxers to?
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes when you, like,
advertising
bend
in which
over-
sense? Is in saying it now or just like walking down the street?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just be wandering down the street and people will be like, "Oh, you're wearing Manscaped boxes," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can get 20% off. We call ValoChat 20."
So does this make up for the fact that I got us demonetized within the first 5 minutes?
I mean, doesn't
Yes.
make up. It's still a net loss of money that we could have had, but yes, I guess. And also, chat, if you're looking to support the podcast, you know, in these dark, wintry times for esports, the best thing that you can do, I mean, is actually just supporting the people that are sponsoring the show to ensure that they continue to sponsor the show. So go and check it out. It's manscaped.com. You get 20% off with free shipping with code ValoChat20.
Yes.
Trim your chesticles with the besticles.
Yes.
Is what it says. So there you go.
Are we the besticles?
No, the besticles I think is like the best equipment possible.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was
Know what I mean?
wondering. Like, I didn't want to be trimming. Never
No.
mind.
And the Manscaped products are excellent too. They are top of the line. They really do work well.
I do have to get my beach bod ready. I'm going to Cancun in a couple months for my very long delayed honeymoon. So maybe I'll have to pick that up so I can get everything prepared.
For the
so
honeymoon as well. You got to make
slightly
sure.
less embarrassing
You
on the
got to
beach.
make sure.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
Okay, let's move on to the America's Week 8
We have international
predictions
shipping.
then. I mean, it's free shipping. I can't remember if it's international. To
There's
be
no
honest.
fucking
Cancun.
shot. They're shipping
I
that
don't
for
think
free
so.
to Korea.
Yeah,
fine.
ship it to Cancun.
I could.
Ship it to like LA, and we'll bring it over for you or something.
Okay.
I mean,
Sure.
we're heading into the area. We'll meet you in Tokyo. Okay, America's Week 8 predictions. So, before we actually get kicked off with the predictions, we used to do a thing a while back where we asked the viewers for like a key game, right? A game of the week, like what did the viewers think, etc., etc. We haven't done that in a while, but apparently Kurt did it last week. I didn't even realize.
Kurt's
So-
popping off on the
Yeah,
socials.
Kurt's gone crazy.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Look,
The viewers printed loud.
it's little Timmy.
You were
I got
wrong.
it wrong. So did I, but it's okay.
Oh, no one won.
Oh no, little Timmy, 0-1. That's very sad for the little Timmys out there. But you know,
Wait, are we tallying? Oh God.
so that's a good. All right, so there was 13,000 votes, and 55% of people predicted Loud to win, which I don't think is unreasonable, to be honest. That's 45% of
That's
people
really
going for an
good.
RG.
55 only? That's I
Yeah.
thought they would have been much more favored given the Plat Chat guarantee. Jesus.
What do you mean? There wasn't a Plat Chat guarantee for that game. I went with NRG.
It was 50-50.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah.
Was it
yeah.
50?
It should have been.
All right, so let's take a look at our predictions from last week. I assume that's from this game as well. Let's have a look. Last week,
Oh God.
Dude,
It's just-
I am fucking frying.
I voted for North
Holy-
America.
I need a betting sponsorship.
Dude, I didn't
apparently.
realize we were tracking this. I would have put so much more effort into being wrong.
There's no way I'm 10-2.
I mean,
This
you
might be
for
my
last
worst
week.
week ever.
did you go for Sentinels? Because that would have got
Yeah.
that is like an L that we all took because we all
Yeah, I
went
took
for crew.
Sentinels.
Oh, I went
Right.
Sentinels too, but then I trolled myself.
Yeah, true. And Kurt has compiled all of our previous prediction scores for the split.
Wait, really?
So
Oh
let's
my
take a look
God.
at our overall record.
Poor Kurt.
Oh, that's amazing.
Kurt's working a full-time job producing, helping
Kurt,
produce the show.
I can do it. You just
I like
let
that
me
he
do a
built out the
stats
little
goblin.
animation instead of just collecting the friends. That's great though.
Oh,
So yeah, listen, if anyone out there wants to go and collect things and tweet at us, or maybe Bala will do it.
well,
or
they
something.
don't have all the stats. We need they would need.
Aren't they all
of
on the show?
No, because they would only see the 4 people who.
Oh
are on the show.
yeah.
I haven't been getting access to do prides when I'm not on the show. So
No, you just click the link that's in
No,
the Discord,
no.
mate. It's public.
No,
It's
it's,
public
not.
in the
It's in the
Discord,
Valve.
isn't it?
It's in the episode chat.
Oh.
And you guys are super users, so
Well, we'll figure it out. It's percentages anyway, isn't it? It's percentages of whatever you predicted, so it's fine.
yeah. But I didn't get to read the easy ones. It's kind of
All right.
busted.
Well,
You're
listen, if you
you're
got
spitting
business,
lies right now, Ball. I put it in the public chat. That's why
That's
Bren was
cat,
able to do it
bro.
last week.
Yeah, maybe last week, but the episode I was off, you didn't do that.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's do our friends.
Come on, bro.
Guys, let's all be friends, okay? Come on.
Okay, first game.
Are we doing
Ball and I
power rankings
secretly
today?
hate each other.
I hope not.
Wait, are we? Oh God,
We're doing
maybe.
Preds, aren't we?
Listen, the power rankings would be so quick anyway. All right, predictions. It's Sentinels
Fine.
versus Furia, the first one. This one is also the match of the week. This one is the one that the viewers can predict on as well. There will be a community poll on this match going up at some point. So Sentinels Furia, let's get it. Who is believing in Sentinels?
Just kidding, of course I am.
Yes! They're gonna lose now. Oh, fuck.
Why have all three of you gone for Sentinels?
I can explain.
Go ahead.
I thought everyone was gonna go for Furia, so I said, "Fuck it, I'll go for Sentinels and be the only one." But I didn't expect this.
I also had the same thought process.
Fucking.
So,
I did not. I'm just sick of hating on Sentinels, so I wanted to like support the boys. I wanted to support Rob more and apologize to him. That's what I wanted.
Oh god.
Okay, so is anyone going to give me one reason why Sentinels win?
Because Zekken's so good that he's gonna take over the lobby, and they're
Okay.
gonna win.
It's not
He's
a
gonna
real
out
reason.
Dijin. He's just gonna fucking pound.
yeah,
But
they're
it's
gonna.
Pens who's gonna digits in him, no?
Also, last time I was on the show and I predicted Sentinels, they won. So we'll see if it happens twice in a row.
That must have been a while ago.
It was them versus 100 Thieves.
Oh,
Here's-
right, week one.
Here is my only reason, and it's not a real reason, but the best thing for Sentinels to do, and don't get mad at this, Sentinels fans, would be to lose so that they don't make playoffs, so that they can focus
just
on
dig deep for
practicing for
LCQ.
LCQ,
Yeah,
because
it's true.
that's going to be what, a week of prep and crap that doesn't matter because they're not going to make Tokyo, and they actually might low key have a chance at LCQ if they. I didn't say that last week, but if the vibes are better, which that's what Kaplan said, the vibes are better, then suddenly all of a sudden you have a team that's gelling, which it wasn't
Okay.
before.
Okay.
So because that's the thing that they should do, they're not going to do that. They're going to
right. Because they should throw and give themselves more time for LCQ, they're going to actually make it to playoffs. Again, I will wear my mustache as extra eyebrows if they make it to playoffs.
That's
It's not
why we're
happening.
pretty. That's the real reason.
All right,
I
let's get
knew.
into
I saw into the future, and I knew you were gonna make a stupid bet on this.
the next game. We have top team versus unclouded team, but actually another top team. NRG, EG.
What the heck?
I don't feel great about this.
Yeah, I don't
Plat
think this is a-
guarantee.
I don't think this is a slam dunk.
I think it's a slam dunk. If Energy played like last week, it's a slam dunk.
NRG
So 30%.
looks so good.
Yeah, NRG did look really good, but EG are also not as bad as some people might think.
No,
Yeah.
they're a good
And
team.
they've shown a
they're
lot of
good.
evidence
They're
of
good.
being
They're
a
not
quite an
slouches or
improved
anything.
team.
I think I had them. We'll do this in the power rankings later, but yeah, okay. Let's move on. I feel like this should be a really good game and should be closer than we expect, but there you have it. Next game should not be closer than we expect. Cloud9
think-
versus Crew. Get ready to smile.
Do you think listen, we know if Cloud9 lose, they're posting the shit on social media. They're in
in the chat right now.
They're in tune with the community.
Bro,
But-
if Cloud9 lose,
They ain't losing. I'm just saying. But do you think this is? I was bringing this point to the previous one. Do you think EG even knows we exist as a podcast? Do you think the Easy social team even realizes they could capitalize on the Plat guarantee?
no, I don't think so.
Who is running that social team?
I don't know.
I don't think the EG social media manager knows what content EG has.
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say. We can get back onto
I low-key think I know I don't know the director of marketing at EG, but way back when, this is a really random tangent and something that nobody is going to care about. Way back when EG got into partnerships, they followed me on Twitter, and I was like, why would they do that? That's so random. Why did they do that? Why did they just randomly follow me? And then I talked to my brother. He's like, bro, one of my former coworkers is signed with this company called Evil Geniuses. Do you know them? It's like a marketing guy for his company who's like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't actually know them.
Okay.
But maybe I do. Maybe I should not talk bad about them.
Yeah, your brother will be mad about it. Next game should have been a banger. Doesn't really look like it, but it is a must-win for Leviathan. They're playing up against Loud.
Unlucky.
You have no faith in... Wait, actually, none of us have faith in Lev.
No.
Of course not.
I think they've got a better chance at beating Loud than they do at beating Cloud9. Cloud9 still had something to play for. In the Cloud9 game, they had to beat Leviathan. Well, they had to win one of their next 2 games in order to lock up the second spot. Cloud9 do not look like they are inclined to take their foot off the pedal at all. They're just in the mode of like, we're going to win. We're going to keep getting better by winning. I think Loud have a slightly different approach. Do I think it's going to make a difference, though? I think it's going to be a close loss for Leviathan. I think it's going to be like a close 2-0. Maybe they get a map, but I don't know what map it would be.
You know,
Are we using
thinking...
the previous definition of close, like 10 rounds?
Yeah, I was thinking like
3 maps.
9, but yeah, I guess like close-ish.
I was thinking like 13-8, 13-9.
Yeah. Where you feel like they might have had a chance, but not really.
If they won that clutch, they didn't do that strategy. They could have had some more rounds and momentum. Maybe they get... I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched that much, but just everything that I've seen and the results that I've looked at, I just feel like Aspas versus Taco, it's just not going to be good.
Yeah.
Yep. I kept thinking, what an unfortunate circumstance for this team to play the 2 best teams in the league to end when they need to beat them. So unlucky. But then I realized they lost to EG and 100 Thieves. Like, really, it's just punishment.
Yeah.
It's punishment.
Yeah.
What?
It is.
I have nothing to say.
But let's move on then to the final match of the week, okay? If you want Sentinels to go through, you got to predict MIBR. It ain't happening.
I couldn't even get my thumb up in time.
Yeah, MIBR might be one of the worst teams in the entirety
They're
of
cooked.
Valorant right now. They are mentally boomed. They're gone.
Yeah, it's done.
They don't even have their star player anymore. He literally just stepped down. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh?
I have a reason for this pred. And it's because I knew all of you were going to be predding 100 Thieves. And I think that it would be very funny if they lose.
Oh, you're trying to activate the curse.
Oh.
The curse doesn't work on MIBR. It just doesn't.
We will revisit this moment in a
when
week's time.
When Sen win 2-0 and 100 Thieves lose to MIBR, we'll revisit this.
It is crazy, though, that Sentinels have found themselves in a spot where they have to root for the worst team in the league to get a win. And they have to hope that MIBR beat 100 Thieves.
Yep.
That's rough. That's rough.
Hope. It's going to happen. It's locked in. The fates have been decided. The dice have been cast.
The Sentinels game gets... Oh, wait, actually, I don't know.
It is, yeah. It's the Sentinels game that gets played first. I just checked. Interesting.
Well, we'll know if this one matters real quick then.
Yeah.
Yes, we certainly will. Okay, let's pull up the power rankings.
Dude,
I feel like there's...
Pride is so smart. They made the Sentinels one go first, so if the Sentinels get the upset, they get all the Sentinels viewers for the rest of the season.
Yep. So smart.
So smart.
No, it's so Sentinels have that extra amount of time to prepare for LCQ. They get out of the way right off the rip.
All the fucking Sentinels fans are not going to watch anyways because they're not going to know what it means.
All right, let's pull up the power rankings. We'll go through these pretty quickly. I don't think there's too much to adjust.
Let's give the
particularly.
stick to Bren to troll first. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
You want me to
down.
just...
Yep.
I think
write it
Bren
up?
and Seth can basically do this. There shouldn't be too much to tweet.
Okay. Let's do NRG second.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do EG fourth. We'll do
What are you doing?
I think we'll do Lev over Furia.
No, I can't do that. I
off.
literally physically can't do that.
No.
I physically can't do
Just
that.
point
blank refuse.
I physically, like, my hand
We'll
can't move that way.
Okay. We'll do Lev. Then we'll put Lev at like, I would say like 7th, and we'll put 100 Thieves at 5.
All right, sure. I
We'll
still
move
don't
them
like
down.
that, but sure.
No, and then we'll do. Yeah, I think this is good. We probably lock this in.
Why is
MIBR?
Furia in 6 now?
I mean, I low key, I think he's cooking.
Really?
Low key, I think he's cooking. Like, NRG have been playing fantastically recently. Just because Loud we've put them in 3rd does not mean that they're going to stay 3rd when it comes to playoffs. But like at the moment, yeah.
I mean, I think widely this is okay.
EG just beat Furia. Leviathan look like they suck, but Sentinels, Crew, and MIBR are just lost in the sauce.
Is MIBR actually a tier break under Crew?
Yes.
They're fucking abominable. Abominable. Don't watch a game of theirs, Seth. Don't watch
Not
it.
looking
Don't
good.
do it
Don't
to
bother.
yourself.
I mean, this is the thing is like I haven't since the season started. I think I maybe have seen like
It's
one
not looking
result.
Trade
from them.
agreement. I won't watch DFM. You don't watch MIBR.
Sorry, this hand. There
Real
we go.
quick, I wanted to pose the question: do you guys think Crew might end up being the best 0-8 team of all time
I mean,
after a few years?
0-9 as well.
0-9, yeah.
I don't even know whether we're going to stick to this format,
guess.
so I don't know whether we're going to be able to compare it. But Crew are not that good.
I mean, next year they could go 0-10, right? Once we have the Ascension teams get added into the league.
Yeah.
God.
They're qualifying next year.
I mean, they're playing better than MIBR are currently. I haven't watched enough Detonation, but I have a feeling they're probably better than Detonation.
Yeah.
I have some more questions.
I
Bren,
don't know that, though.
you have to explain why you thought Leviathan was 5th, and now they're 7th.
I was just going off vibes. I hate power rankings, so I just kind of like wing it every time and don't put any thought into it, really.
You just like their logo?
No one's ever really happy with power rankings. We're not happy with them. The fans are never happy with them, but they're great for generating engagement. So I just kind of like do it. I don't think about it. I just do it.
I mean, I think you've actually stumbled upon the goated power ranking, though. Because,
I don't hate it.
yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves beat Furia. Leviathan have kind of been sucking. They've lost to a lot of the teams above them. EG are looking really solid,
Yeah,
right?
I think EG look really solid. Probably 4th best right now.
They might be worse than 100 Thieves
Maybe,
if
yeah.
they played a match tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I think 100 Thieves have... Yeah, I'm not sure. I think EG deserve the spot above them for now. I'm happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, real quick, Sentinels and Leviathan. Could Sentinels be higher than Leviathan, you think?
No.
No, I don't think Sentinels are good enough to be able to beat Leviathan. I think you have to be a certain ability in order to make Leviathan look bad. And Sentinels are not there. Leviathan's just discipline would be able to get through Sentinels, I think. Pens would still
Yay.
diff Taco.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah. All right, very good. Let us move on from these power rankings. We have
That was
found
easy.
Yeah, that was simple.
Yeah,
just
we
give the trolling stick to Bren, and he's
Yeah.
found the perfect formula. Okay, so I'm going to start things off in Pacific here with the big news, which to me is actually not that big news, which is DRX have their first domestic loss in 14 months. The last time they lost, I believe, in like a
Onslayers.
regular season was to Onslayers back in March of
one.
last year.
Yeah.
And they've just lost 0-2, in fact, to Team Secret. That's 29 domestic matches in a row outside of Masters and Champs that they won before losing to Team Secret. So, in some sense, massive news, like crazy upset happening. But at the same time, there was a lot of trolling going on.
There was some differences for sure. Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised, and I was having difficulty trying to track this game when it was live because I was actually spending time with my in-laws and then driving home. And I actually made my wife open up the game on her phone when we would hit a red light so I could see what the fuck the score looked like because I was so curious. But But we saw Zest coming back in, so I saw the text message where we get the rosters, and I'm just like, oh, what is this? Is Fracture the first map? That was my first thought, because I thought maybe they're going to revert back to bringing Zest in, play the Fade composition, RB Neon, blah, 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 blah.
Makes
for
sense.
Fracture. And then that wasn't the case. And they were just like, okay, we're going to play him the entire time. And then they obviously lost from there. I know this for a fact, he had about a day's notice that he was going to be playing Jet. So he wasn't really practiced up on this.
The trolling.
We're going to try this out. We're going to see how things look with Zest back in. Since we're locked in for playoffs, they were very confident in being able to, confirm their first place position. All they had to do is, take down T1. It was a good team and actually did take quite many few rounds off of them in that OC loss. But they're feeling pretty confident there, so that, like, worst case scenario, if they did drop the series, that they were going to be fine. And then they did go on to lose it, and it absolutely giga trolled the ever-loving hell out of every other team's playoff chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just caused a cascade of nonsense as well, all throughout the lower levels.
But I still listen, from this Team Secret, would you not say that they are the best? They have the best chance of making Tokyo of all of those teams at the lower section of playoffs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because I personally would, because
so hype on them this weekend.
They had a big upswing at the beginning of the split. They had a bit of a downturn. I think it was the loss versus Gen.G when I was watching that around that. It was like in the middle of the split, I think. But Gen.G looked really good, and watching back at that game, I was like, they kind of got unfortunate because a lot of what Gen.G's game plan runs down to is like big opening. They have an idea, they do it within the first 10 seconds, and either it works or it doesn't. And it worked a lot. But I would say currently they have the best shot out of all the teams of making Tokyo. Outside of like when I say that third spot, I'm saying obviously like DRX and PaperX. I would just put at 1 and 2.
I don't think. I don't know. I don't agree with that. Mostly because I've also seen Team Secret get bodied by all of the other teams that are in playoffs, right? Didn't they lose to literally every other team that they're in contention with? Apart from DRX, obviously. Right. They beat PaperX while PaperX were running horrendously troll. They beat the 2 top teams while they were on Omega troll level. And then the other teams that they're actually going to be competing with now that they're in playoffs, they lost to in more reasonable straight up matches.
The Gen.G game, I think, was just. I'm not kidding when I say that it just felt like Gen.G were blessed by God in terms of they played well, but they, for example, like their Haven, and Gen.G are still doing this. They fucking, I don't know, they have an idea like an A main push, A lobby push, and it just perfectly works out. Or like they're stack C and they won't rotate from any of like mid-round util that's getting used, and rotations don't get pulled away, and the Team Secret will land on the C site, for example. Like there was a lot of instances of that where it felt like Gen.G were playing it optimally, but it was still working out.
Right.
I think they have a good shot. I don't think that it's like necessarily that they have like the best chance, but I think that it's pretty close. But I think a lot of it will come down to how much prep time do they have. Are they winning early and then falling to lower bracket, or do they fall to the lower bracket pretty much immediately? Because I think if that happens, then they might just end up, kind of falling out of it. Because they do have 2 fairly young players in Jeremy and Envy and whatnot that are joining, this veteran core that has had some inconsistencies, and it just feels like when they do lose, that can have a little bit of a ripple effect, and it takes them a little while to get back on the horse. As we kind of saw throughout their season. I mean, they were holding on by a thread, and if they hadn't been able to win here, even though they had a tied score with a bunch of other teams, they would have had like the worst map differential, and they would have been eliminated from playoff contention immediately. So I think that they have a good chance, and the one thing that makes me more confident in their ability to potentially make it has actually been Warbirds and the impact that he has had with his team, and the way that he just sets them up for success. Like I was the coaching booth for their last series versus why can't I think? Who the hell did they just play against?
Global.
Oh, it was Global. They were playing against Global. The coaching booth is right below where we're at because we're up, raised up the casting booth. So I was going up the stairs and I heard Warbridge just talking to them, and he ran through like 4 or 5 really just quick basic things, like if this happens they're doing this, if this happens they're doing this. Like he just had like an understanding of Global's procedures as like a flowchart in his head, and he was just like reminding them how to completely counteract all of those things, and then you could kind of see it occur when the game actually had started.
Yeah.
But I really like his prep, and I think that if he's able to have time to really study what the teams are going to be doing, then he can set the players up for success incredibly well.
Yeah, I watched them get kind of pounded by T1, and to me, T1 are the third team that looks like
I have them
make
almost
it,
neck
like,
and neck.
Yeah. Let's move on though to actually discussing the Team Secret Global game, right? Because as you said, that DRX loss kind of cracked a bunch of other playoff dreams, hopes. It made everything a lot stranger because it gave Team Secret that massive boost that they needed, and it meant that this Team Secret Global game, I believe, was 4 playoffs, wasn't it? It was like some.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly important game.
Either winner would have gone through.
Right. And I feel for the global team, but the formulaic way in which they've been playing, which I think has actually been a major benefit to the team that Aaron's brought to them, like you said, it did look like it was just getting hard read by Team Secret in a number of moments on this match.
I think not only hard read, but like just not even necessarily where there's a thing to do for Team Secret. They were always in position to punish when Global was not like perfect on their like approach to A main control or walking in mid to the initial idea. And I think that's where Global like struggled the most. Aaron has been doing fantastic mid rounding for the team. And I actually think like in the very unclear like late round situations, they're able to find a lot of clarity because of like how they want to go find information, what the people that they know, like in 3v3s or something like that, they were always really, really good. To me, like they just got, especially on that very first map where they were running Harbor Viper on Haven, they were so unlucky in so many clutch situations that I was just heartbroken by it because they were bringing those back, and a lot of times where they were down a man, they were bringing back the round, and then they would lose the clutch, and it was just so sad.
I think, that's the story of Global Esports. This entire split has been a lot of maps which they were very winnable. Like you think about how close they played DRX initially, like at the beginning of the split. Yep. And how close they've played many teams. I think they're the best team with their current record where they stand. That's not actually in playoffs. But again, just I think major credit to Team Secret. You could tell that they had put a lot of a focus on how Global Esports are playing. One of the big strengths of Global Esports is their pistol rounds. They're actually, that's one of the biggest things that they were always very good at in terms of just they knew that they could guarantee, at least some level of success there. And Team Secret won the majority of them. I think they won 3 out of 4 of them in their match.
I think they won all of them.
I don't think it was all of them.
Secret won 4 for 4 in this.
Was it all of them? No, it was 3 out of 4. But it's still, that's still crazy because Global Esports I think are looking like they win. I think if you accumulate all of them, it's like they have a over 60% win rate when it comes to their pistol rounds, which is absurd. Like most teams aren't on that kind of level. So you take away one of the major win cons in terms of what is getting, GE over the line in a lot of those circumstances. And I think, credit to the prep work I think that the Team Secrets players had, and the step up from a lot of the, the older core of this team as well, which, for me, when I think of Team Secret success, a lot of it comes down to the newer players that are being introduced into the roster this year, having those big step ups in performances, but that wasn't really the case in the series.
I want to, one of the players that, I was talking earlier about refreshing what we'd been talking about with certain people. We talked about Monyet a while ago and said, some games it looks like he's putting up monster performances, and some games it looks like he's not doing too much. The monster performances have been coming more and more and more throughout the season, I think, to the point where he just looks like a really damn good player now.
I think he's got to be in conversation for just one of the most consistent and strong controllers. He's just been fucking incredible. I mean, we just did our weekly recap show. This would be last night for us after the 2 best of 3s, and we did some kind of like, you know, season like league awards or whatever. And I mean, he comes out with, you know, 3 aces at the end of it all. So like the most aces out of anybody else. His impact. He also, you know, obviously set a new land kill record in their series versus DRX. And he's nasty. Like the way that he was able to clutch out. This was such a good moment. I was losing my mind casting that.
He gets like right up next to the net.
I think that's the thing. Is like if Dubstep had dropped scope at any moment, he would have just been able to like peripheral see the gun barrel, if not like, you know, his hands and everything. But he's just so scoped in, and he comes away with 2 kills like that. His decision making, the way that he just moves around sites when he's like, you know, anchoring. Like I'm thinking about his movement, especially on say like B site split when he's playing like Viper or something. Like he's just so clean. He's so fluid.
His team has gone 3-6, and he's rated as the 5th highest player from the VLR ratings in Pacific.
That's crazy.
As controller.
He's nasty.
On a team that's gone 3-6.
Yeah. When you're in the
Ridiculous.
bathroom, I was saying though, like GE are the most fraudulent team that's currently sitting at that kind of record.
Yeah, I would agree.
They played
with that.
incredibly close against very good opponents.
Yeah, I mean, based on like some of the games and stuff, like some of the score lines and whatever, I think they're way better than their score, but they still have so many problems.
Look at their round differential.
And they're +4.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that said, they still have so many problems. I think.
Oh,
like,
no, for sure. They're not perfect.
Especially in this game, like after the initial call, actually, even at the beginning initial situation off the 5v5 off barrier, so many times people are just wandering into places that they should be like looking or able to trade or able to do whatever, and they just die. I mean, and Monyet was also part of that. I think they're great in the mid round, and they're actually great at clarifying situations. But when they don't know what the other team is going to call, and they make their initial call, they were really bad. On Haven, like they were losing so many just initial engagements right away, like walking into mid, not waiting for the turret to come up before it like contacts, stuff like that. And then as well, like to have your main duelist now being SK Rossi instead of Texture, which obviously happened a lot earlier in the season. SK Rossi kind of disappeared in this series where he needed to win in order to qualify for playoffs. And it was in a way that like was really, I mean, I think the last round of Lotus, round 22, I think it was, dude misses 2 easy jet smokes. He's just curving around the corner that he hit many times throughout the game and forces the team to have to call something else twice in the most pivotal round, on top of just dying like a lot early, not really using his smokes when he dashes to give himself survivability. He just always died first when he was hitting those sites. That's the sort of thing that's like, you can't reach the level that you want without having him learn those things.
To be honest, I think the Gen.G players, sorry, not Gen.G. I think the global players are going to be disappointed with the match results from this season because there were so many matches they could have won but didn't. But I actually think if you step back a little, they should be happy with what they've achieved overall, because a 3-6 record is really not bad. Like a 3-6 record where you could have gone to playoffs in the final match is really good for what this team looked like they were doing at the start of the year. This team looked like it didn't have a coherent vision. It was a bit of a mess. It's a random assortment of players. There's, do you even know that they're going to develop a good culture on the team? Do you know, like, that Aaron's going to be able to shot call when he's only done really the defense sides for XSET? You know, there's so many. You've picked up basically all jet mains and you're making them play different shit. Like, there's so many different things that could have gone spectacularly wrong with this team. They should be proud of where they've ended, despite the fact that I think they'll be disappointed in the actual results.
I remember it was back after, you know, roster locks and everything had happened. I think I came on for an episode and we were doing buy or sell. And this is where I teased, you know, that Carpe was going to be joining T1.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And Avast's fucking brain blew up and Ball was in my DM saying, who is it?
That's not true.
And I think, if I remember correctly, we got around the GE and I said, you know, like, I think I'm a moderate buy on this team. I think that I could see what they're doing, and if they pull it off, then I think that it could actually end up being good. And obviously, they didn't pull it off well enough to make top 6 and make it the playoffs, but this is also one of those teams where I'm looking at them and I'm saying, okay, now you've got a lot of time to focus on continuing to develop this team. And I think in particular, you know, trying to instill some more confidence in Rossi's play so that he doesn't overheat, he doesn't get frazzled in these really stressful matches. that could end up making a run, for LCQ. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of, there's going to be 7 teams taking part in that LCQ event. We don't know who the other ones are going to be, but we know, like the bottom 4 are. So there's 3 other squads you're going to have to try to get through. But I think that with more time to develop, this could be a team that absolutely contends for that final spot.
Yeah, I think this team should be really happy, Josh. They qualified for LCQ. It's a really good job.
Shut the fuck up. Everybody qualifies for LCQ, you dumbass.
I think that they should. And
yeah,
I think
MIBR and crew should be really happy.
Yeah. Fucking hell. I saw Aaron after this match, like pretty much immediately after it, and I don't usually, I don't want to go up to a team that's just lost and be like, "Oh, like good game, guys. Like you gave it your all. It's all right." I don't want to really approach them. I want them to have their space or whatever. But I just happened to bump into him in the hallway, and I just kind of shrugged, and he just went, "Hey, man, it was a good game, but it fucking happens," is what he said. So I think he's just already kind of like looking to brush it off and just double down, get buckled in for the LCQ, which is the right mentality to have. Just focus on the next goal. What is the next thing that you have to do?
Yeah. One of the other teams. Sorry, one of the other teams that missed out, I wanted to move on to talk about RRQ a little bit here too, because Paper Eggs dashed their dreams, and
Those fuckers.
Yeah, and I do have a lot that I want to talk about with Paper Eggs, but first of all, I do want to touch on RRQ first. They've had an enormous bounce back from being a team that at the beginning I just stopped watching their games because they looked that terrible. I was like, if I'm going to watch any VODs from Pacific, I'm not watching RRQ because they look like shit. And then they had a couple of weeks where it wasn't linear, their improvement. They had like a week where they looked insanely good, and then they dropped back off to being poo again, and then they came back on a run, and it felt like the bounce back that they had to be able to potentially make playoffs was pretty enormous, and they ended up with a better record than Global did, better record than Talon, who did well at what do you call it, lock-in.
Better than Gen.G, but they lost the head-to-head.
Right. I mean, they do look like a better fucking team than Gen.G. Gen.G looked dire.
If they had drawn Gen.G as not their first opponent, this could have been a completely different scenario from them. But they faced them early when Gen.G were running hot. RRQ were still trying to figure things out. They thought that Lotus was a really good map for them, and then it very much wasn't. And then they ended up having to, ban that. But as the headline kind of says, I think that this might be one of the best turnarounds, because I remember meeting the guys who own the team, and he's run the org ever since from the very beginning. They're huge in mobile gaming and whatnot. And I met the owner, and he was out here setting the team house up, and I said, "What are your honest expectations for RRQ?" And he said, "I'll be happy if we aren't in the bottom 2." He basically was saying, like, I think this could end up being 7th place. We're looking at it as a fairly long-term project. We're teaching all of the players how to comment English, and that's a major adjustment for them. And I think that it's going to be probably a rough year, and then hopefully going into the next year or even into the LCQ, we can start seeing some results. So he was kind of looking at it almost like, like San Francisco Shock, like kind of long-term project, build us up into a team to be feared. And then it just happened mid-season, and they just started looking incredible. I mean, they just taking a map off of DRX and everything. Like, some unfortunate results and a bit of a soft start while they were still getting adjusted to commenting in English. And had that been able to happen a little bit faster, they probably would be maybe in as like the 5th place position. So it's unfortunate to see, but it's also, I think, much like Global, a season where you can walk away and not be necessarily completely dissatisfied with your results, even though you're not in that top 6.
Yeah, to be honest, the way in which they went out was sad, because Paper Eggs just
rained it on them.
Yeah. They did. Yeah, you didn't get to see that much of the quality of RRQ, because Paper Eggs are the kind of team that just creates chaos and tries to dismantle what other teams do and takes the weirdest timings. But some of their players got great moments. I mean, yeah, Emin wins a 1v2 that Paper X played terribly there. Fucking Elmimore was getting, sheriff headshots all over the place because they were having to eco so often, so he gets to show how good he is.
X-Pharaoh just constantly saving them and on peril, like so many moments.
His heroics were unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was just I refuse to lose mentality from Xfero. And I mean, you saw immediately after the game was over when he wasn't able to win that last duel to take it into overtime by a 12 HP difference. Just, you know, head in hands, just face down on the desk because he was just like, fuck, I was so close to doing it.
There's another player actually where if you look at the stats, his team's 4-5 and had some disastrous games. Like the way in which they lost sometimes was just getting blown out, and yet he's still rated 6th in overall rating. And that's him changing his role, right? Because he was Tebotol. He was mostly a smokes player in the past, and now he's had to play. He's mostly playing initiator for them, and then plays. He plays the smokes when they play double controller, right?
Yeah, he still plays a lot of Viper.
Yeah, but he's also playing tons of initiator
the
stuff.
two
for them too.
Indonesian kings like Tebotol and Monyet, like they're insane. They're really, really, really good.
The Indonesian talent in this game is really solid. I mean, that's why the Indonesian fans
Crazy.
were pissed at RRQ at the beginning, though, because they were going to put together a really terrible team without these kind of people.
Yeah, imagine that. I do think RRQ for me are like not necessarily my favorites, but one that I'm really excited to watch in LCQ because especially in the prior games, this game they had a chance, but I mean it's Paper Rex. You just can't play normal against them. But when you see them play normal, like for example, the game against DRX, I think that was last week. They went 2-1 against them, took a map off them. It was like very, very, very good. They have a lot of really nice ideas. They can play with some good structure. They're able to play in these unclear scenarios too in the mid round. It's just really, really nice to watch and such a difference from what we saw in the early stages. And I'm not really seeing like so many I don't know, I don't see so many things in there in the way that they play that I'm like, that's not good. That's a mistake. Like these game plans are bad. That strat's not good. I don't know why this guy's making that decision. I don't have any of those moments for the most part because especially in this game, they're playing Paper X. I don't blame them when they have those moments.
Exactly.
But other games, I don't see them.
Yeah.
They had plenty of those moments at lock-in, but that's when we had, you know, basically zero hope for how they were going to be performing in Pacific.
Lock-in was the we saw double duelist on Lotus. Like,
I mean, what was it? I think it was Flips who was like running it down B main and on Pearl defense and just running knife out into 4 people in club and just fucking dying.
I've expunged all of that from my memory. That team doesn't exist anymore, that RRQ that we saw at lock-in.
I believe I cast it. That's why it's in my head still. But to go from that, where I was quite actively this close, you know, to saying like, what the fuck is he doing in this game on cast, to what we've seen from them in this season, I think it's got to be the biggest.
I want to talk about the team that they lost to, though, which is Paper Rex. Because Paper Rex are currently, with this roster, with Benkai out and something in, they're 11-2 on maps with this roster. And the 2 losses that they had were Split, which they lost 10-13 to DRX, and then they lost Pearl 11-13 to Talon. And their Pearl comp was and is not very good. But I feel like at the beginning of the season, I was molding about Paper X because they were playing awful compositions and rotating their roster around, and it looked like they had no vision for what they wanted to do. The comps that they were playing, they had ideas for, right? They'd been in the lab and they had like, the Yoru's going to go here and then we're going to take the space like this. And like, they had some ideas with it, but they were just so playing off the goop comps that...
That's always been Paper X, though.
Yeah, but...
It has.
Like,
we had
superbly
CTRS play Gecko on Icebox.
Dude, they have always been superbly gooped. The difference is whether it works or not.
Kind of. But they were playing double duelist everywhere, and they were... Yeah, I think you're right, Brent. I think they were sticking to the Paper X formula without really trying to change anything. And what I wanted them to do was update the formula a little bit. And the big thing for me was putting Forsaken on the flex role. And my God, Forsaken playing on the flex role has just revitalized this team, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
getting something in and having something and Jing just run around with Forsaken flashing them in and prowling them in and all sorts of stuff it's like
he's harbor walling them in. That's crazy.
It is ludicrous.
No, dude, Forsaken's harbor is fucking crazy.
Very good. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are just watching him play, because he plays it in ranked and shit. And he's just He's doing stuff that my brain wasn't even operating on.
I mean, he's such a high APM player that like Harbor is low-key perfect for him, because one of the things I don't think people realize how difficult Harbor is to play, but like when you're trying to cut off walls early, when you're trying to stop the cascades while you're entering, it's hard because you throw that shit out, you start scaling with it, and then you like get into a fight and you have to stop it while you're in that fight. It's like really, really difficult.
You have to partition your brain into having like the timing of the wall coming, and also you're like, but also I want to swing on this timing, and you're like, you have to, yeah, it's difficult. But he's an innovator, and he has helped them out a ton, just in terms of being able to like play that role. Because before it was like Jing and Forsaken at the forefront, and they're being supported, but now you've got like something who's just as much of an absolute crackhead, and he's going in with Jing, and they know, and Forsaken's going to be on the same page as them as well, despite the fact that he's he's playing that role that's going to be like third in. And sometimes just supporting them as much. So,
but he is still a maniac. I mean,
he's still a maniac. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Taking fights he should never be taking.
My dude is W King on Killjoy with all his util down.
Yeah, like
so. I think it's enough to
two
sail.
aces on Pearl.
It's enough to sail through a lot of these teams in Pacific because they don't really have the player quality to match them. But when they get to these global events, I'm a little bit worried about if PaperX qualify for Tokyo and they end up going up against the global teams again, because that's when they start to go up against a lot of teams where they actually can get matched for that. Where if you take a stray fight, you're not going to get blessed of it with a 2-piece by yourself. You're going to get shut down, and your team is playing a 4v5, and you're going to be playing against the teams that are really disciplined enough that I think it really dismantles and breaks apart how PaperX like to play. I think we've seen it showcased now multiple times that they're like high pace, high tempo play style does get shut down a little bit when you play against the slower teams.
Yeah, I mean, are we able to run this round back, Kurt, and just or even could you show round 4 and then round 7? Because this was their game against Gen.G, and I was thinking about this, right? About like, that they're going fast. How do you stop them? Okay, and this was obviously it's Gen.G. It's not like a top team in the world trying to stop them here, but
it fucking hurts to hear you say that. But it's
I know, but it's true, isn't it? Gen.G have just had an enormous fall off, but they tried to do like a really heavy stop. They hard antied them. They put a suck on the floor up a ramp to try and stop them from taking that position. And then in round 7, so this is their round 4 play where, okay, so Gen.G know that they're there. They've got triple stars. They've invested 3 stars and 3 people to stop this. Forsaken just swings through the wall and gets that kill. And then they're coming up. They go 1 for 1 at this point, and they just can't stop Jing. This is Jing, by the way. KR Extra 002.
Yeah.
And he bullies his way up, and then he just runs forwards. He's just like, probably no one there. And Goddead doesn't realize he's already up. Boom. They've lost the whole of heaven. They've lost the round at this point. They've just lost.
Everything's
and then
gone.
Look at, can you skip things forward to round 7, Kurt? The one that we'd just shown? Because they tried a similar thing again. They're like, all right, motherfucker, Jing, you ain't getting A ramp control this time. You ain't getting A ramp. We are going to invest everything we have. And something flies through A main, updrafts into heaven, and backstabs them. It's like the most crazy. What I don't quite understand is, without an IGL, how are these players so quick to respond to each other? So again, this is Jing actually getting punished this time. They take a slightly further back position. They make sure that they've got the stun there, and something's already up through heaven. He just ran in through A main, updrafted, dashed, because he knows that they're all going to be fighting A ramp, and they've lost the round again. I mean, I can't remember whether they won or lost this situation, actually. Maybe they ended up winning this, but...
I mean, that's playing on the info, right? Jing sees 3 people shooting at him, so something's able to make the educated guess that there's nobody on A.
But I think when I look at the responses that this team has and how quick they are on their feet, I think they must just have 100% trust in every mid-round that everyone calls. There's no way that those are being... Like, it's not Devi telling something to go and do that.
Right.
Or if someone calls, like, let's cancel this and let's rotate, I don't think it's just one person making these calls. I think they must just have extraordinary trust in each other to move instantly upon any mid-round.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to, like Cloud9, in a sense, where somebody makes a call and the util's perfect or whatever to set them up. And you have, I think... The best thing about this is the spearheads for this team actually literally almost all four main players who are taking mad fights constantly.
Mind Freak's so much
Something,
more
King.
aggressive than he used to be.
Actually, yeah, Mind Freak too is in these positions as well. But every single one of them is so fast thinking, so high APM, so like just constantly doing something as fast as possible, no matter what. And I think that is part of the culture for them. But it's also not something that you just are able to build in somebody too. You literally have to be that way by playing the game from a young age and being a crackhead. That's what happens. It's you get to be in these moments where it's like, holy shit, they just put 3 stars on us. That means they're hard fighting us. And then instantly you're like, oh, I know the right thing to do. Most players are not going to know that. They're not going to be able to actually come up with the right thing to do because they've never seen what has happened to them in the first place. These guys react so quickly. They have a moldable brain.
Yeah, pretty much.
This team is going to get exposed at the global tournaments, but they're also going to get upset wins against teams that are a lot better than them.
Yeah.
By doing that, by forcing them to try and make decisions faster, they will fail.
Yeah. The raw skill, dude. Every single, I think, Forsaken, Jing, and something, they all have some quality about them that is like insanely good. That is best in the world. Like something's movement. Both on Jet, but specifically when he was playing that Reyna on Bind, bro, his movement was insane with the dismisses, something I've never seen. And then his Jet movement too, when he updrafts, every single time he updrafts, he's wiggling. Like I've never seen people do this. And then Jing, his decisiveness and timing, and then Forsaken, just I don't know what his quality is, but I'm sure he has something. I'm sure he is a superhero. It's gonna catch teams off guard still, even in this day and age.
What if the grand strategy is that they make it to Tokyo, and then they bench something and Benkai's back in?
I mean, that is
they've been
insane.
hiding the Benkai strategies the entire time. It'll be the return of the IGL King for Paper X.
What I don't think
really
these guys
missing?
can work on an IGL structure. I don't think they can.
What they're really missing that Benkai brought to the team, though, is any semblance of discipline. The amount of overheating and the amount of like the just thrown away situations is absurd in these games. They are clearly so much better than some of these teams they're playing against. They are so much better than Gen.G. They are so much better than RRQ on an individual level and on a like ability to take aggressive fights as quickly as possible and like put pressure on them. But they also just Kurt, I've got some examples here from the RRQ game actually that I wanted to like round 10 and round 15 from Bind, if you are able to find those, are just unreal. Like the pace that Paper X play at forces mistakes from their opponents, which is fantastic. But it also, usually they're on the same page with each other. But if they break up and they end up playing solo, there doesn't seem to be anybody to rein them back in currently. You know, nobody tells something or Jing or frankly any of these players to like come group up. Like let's play smart for a second. They just try and extend it further and further and further. And some of the stuff they were cooking up with, like the bind teleporters and some of the ult plays they were going for, were just ludicrous, absolutely bonkers shit. And I don't know what is going to happen. What's this one? This is round 10. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't even remember what round this was. Okay, so they flash, they take hookah control.
Look, they fell off.
Yeah, they fall off. There's a big fight happening over here. So EJ goes for the counter push in. Jing goes up as well. There's a teleport through the sand TP, and Device got the spike and sticks around and only just manages to escape here. This harbor wall gets thrown. This cosmic divide gets thrown as well. The cosmic divide is cap. The harbor wall is cap. They're just playing as fast as they can, and RRQ are able to just push through both of them and destroy them. And I know the high APM, they're good enough players that they make it work a lot of the time, but you see rounds like that and you're like, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing? You've never thrown these pieces of utility before. And I feel like that's probably the same with a lot of the rounds that they win as well. They're improvising,
good.
And it works.
If they force themselves into situations that the other team is also going to be fucking unfamiliar with and not know how to abuse, then that's probably good for them because they're the ones who will come up with the answers faster.
Look at this
Still
defensive
random
round.
harbor walls.
They throw this harbor wall to threaten that they've like repositioned. They throw a flash that goes through the teleporter so that Mind Freak sneaks in here. And this, I think, is probably the round where you're talking about some things dismiss movement and stuff. And Mind Freak baits the fuck out of him. Mind Freak, Mind Freak has no intention of helping something at all. This looks like beta footage of people playing with the teleporters on Bind. This is like Paper Rex overcooking to such an absurd degree. Like, I don't even know really what the plan is here. Like, something hears utility being used and calls for Mind Freak to backstab them.
Just swings with a
Probably.
stinger.
Yeah.
And whiffs, if I recall correctly.
Yes, he whiffs as well. I mean, you'll see it here. He's still inside the teleporter, and something is deciding to walk down sand because of that pressure that was at A short. So, nice little info play. Something gets two of them. Ridiculous.
Oh, this one.
God movement. God movement.
He's Mind Freak! Get out the teleporter, Mind Freak! Help your teammate, motherfucker! What are you doing?
And then he misses the timing.
Like, it's crazy. So I do want to say, like, as much as we're enthused about the pace that this team plays at and the crazy high APM, look at Jing's ability to try and recover this round. It almost happens. But the fact that they're finding themselves in these spots, they still need to sort the wheat from the chaff. I think that's what it is. They've got a great way of approaching the game. They put tons of pressure on their opponents. And actually, if you imagine trying to defend against a team like Paper Rex, you're normally holding, like, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to hold this angle, and then when I drop off, they're going to use a piece of utility. I'm going to play anti-flash. I'm going to re-flash back into this position. The problem is, sometimes they just dry swing. You don't have always those utility noises to play off, and you don't have the, like, normal theoretical timings. That makes a massive difference. The fact that they throw in so many dry hits means that you have to be scared enough that you can't actually respond well for when they util dump you. And that is a very overlooked piece of why the Paper Rex style works so well. But also they just mad overheat in some of these situations and try to cook up bonkers shit. Like way more bonkers than when Benkai was on the team, I think. So you have to take the good with the bad when you have Paper Rex.
They are nothing if not confident.
I mean,
bro, you're just a caster. You don't know what's going on in the actual comms, bro. What Mind Freak was dealing with something, bro. He was on his phone. I don't know.
If I have off on their first playoff day, I don't think I do. I was gonna say I'll go into the studio and I'll listen to it. And I'll report back what the comms sound like.
Yeah.
Because also,
they release comm videos. They're crazy. They're actually crazy.
Not only do I want to hear it firsthand, but I want to hear what Alex is saying when he calls a timeout. Because
he's sitting in the coach.
He looks mad sometimes.
Oh, dude, when he is pissed, I mean, again, he's a passionate guy, but we were also just taking the piss out of him on the cast because we're just like, oh, Alex isn't gonna like that one. And then you see the timeout come in, and you're like, oh boy, the whip is coming out. He's getting the belt.
But one of the things that they've really done well, I think, is take the compositions that were tragic and actually play like kind of reasonable stuff. I know it sounds bonkers when we just watched them, like a clip of them playing Reyna Raze on Bind, which I'm not on board with that one necessarily. But
we should have run that, to be honest.
Maybe we lost to a Raze Reyna.
I was watching those games. Dude, I'm watching those games.
Paper Rex comp.
Basically.
There needs to be a seismic vibe shift within our community.
For sure. Oh
because
my god, it was
you
so
guys
bad.
have fucking boomed. And I mean, I need to.
Bad.
Do you need me to come in and do Fortnite dances in like the fucking green room before we play?
Yeah.
But the Ascent comp that they ran is just the FPX comp, right? With the old one with the Fade and the Sage, and it looked really solid.
Cool.
Yeah, and they've been running that a lot, and they have some good ideas for what they want to do with it. I mean, yeah, and some things are a freak. He's playing Forsaken's role better than Forsaken did.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he's much more aggro than Forsaken, which fits actually really well. I think Forsaken.
How have they found a player that's more aggro than Forsaken?
Forsaken was actually generally. I mean, that sounds stupid, but he was generally especially when he was opping, playing passive and getting set up a lot by his teammates, and then once he was set up, he would go aggro. Whereas Jing was the go button in a lot of cases. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like they have two Jings now.
Yes, it really does.
I want to see something continue to flex a little bit. I don't know if they'll be able to do that just in the playoffs or
What,
whatever. Or
flex
maybe
to what? To fucking Yoru, Reina?
Oh, the
like-
fucker no, dude played. Did you not see? He played Breach on Fracture.
Really?
Yeah, something played
Oh,
Breach.
Right, because that was the map that Benkai was still playing, right?
And
then
he
they were like,
kind of
"Fuck it."
pounded, and it was good. I'll see. I don't remember who they played it against. I'll see if I can pull it up. But we were like, let's see how this one goes, and then it ended up being pretty good.
That was Talon, right? Yeah, it was Talon.
Okay.
Did we talk about Gen.G, by the way?
No, we
No.
skipped
No.
so far. I would
Let's
love
talk
to.
about Gen.G.
I would love
All
to.
right.
Right, dude. This is the first match I watched Gen.G versus Zeta. This is the first match I watched this morning to try to catch up for Pacific today.
Gen.G
And bro-
versus Zeta, you mean?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I have never watched a game by myself without streaming and had the most audible reactions to this game. I was constantly just like, what the fuck, bro? But anyways, let's get into this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will say, out of all the teams, I feel like Zeta would have the best just inherent play style against a team like Gen.G. Because of all the prior stuff that I was talking about, where Gen.G's game plan seems to be very like all in, and then mid round. I don't think their mid round is good at all.
That's horrible.
Really, I think that sometimes I don't know what they're doing in the mid round. I think they're all just like turning off the comms and muting each other sometimes because they don't make decisions based off of like information that's occurring on the other side of the map, and it just leads to scenarios where it feels like the only time they feel in control of a scenario, or like their game plan of where they found success, and this has been ingrained into them, is like the first 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds of them making a play, making a move, and getting the advantage there. And if it doesn't, it's just, I don't know, either they'll just like slowly into a slow default, or they won't do anything at all, and they'll just let like the second slip away, which in some cases is perfect against a team like Zeta Division, because Zeta also love to just run down a clock to 30 seconds and run into sites with no real, emphasis being placed in anywhere else on the map. But this feels like a bit of a play style diff, especially now that Zeta Division are playing a little bit better in the most recent weeks.
I mean, I think Gen.G looks like the worst team in any of the playoffs. Like their current form looks worse than any of the teams in Americas or EMEA as well that are going to make playoffs.
That's crazy to say.
It's unacceptable for a team that has the talent and like not just the talent, but has shown, because the peaks from Gen.G have been good, genuinely good, and looked like they had a lot of promise. And then I don't know what's happened.
I don't know. It's ever since that series versus DRX where they couldn't close it out. And they took a map, they won Fracture, and then they got absolutely fucking mauled on Pearl, I believe. It was like a 13-3 scoreline or something. It's just been such a downward spiral. And King has had his moments and as far as like looking consistent for the team, but it feels like pretty much GodDead's like the one guy who has been pretty good throughout all of the rest of their games and has even in some cases been like their top fragger. And I mean, he's the one who like started his career on basically on like the F4Q as a joke, and he's the one who's putting up numbers compared to like MIBR, who was able to help carry Northampton to international events, to TS, who has been an IGL and player since the game came out on TNL and Quantum Strikers and everything. Like, it's just so bizarre because he went from like GodDead went from being like, okay, I'm gonna set up Meteor, and Meteor's gonna go and gonna murder everybody, and that's what the first 4 series were, and that's a big part of why they were able to get their wins. But then these last couple series, like everybody else has been struggling, but like GodDead is just standing there alone with King sometimes, and he's just like, can somebody please help me out here?
Yeah, that's how I felt with King. I was like, dude, somebody needs to help this dude. I kind of agree with GodDead, but yeah, this team seems good to me when they all have the same goal. Like for example, on Ascent against Zeta, when they have the goal to like break the alarm bot, pressure cat, hit B, those sorts of things, they feel like they are able to run in that where it must be drilled like 100 times because it was very good and it was like timing was nice. But when they're out of those like protocols that they've drilled significantly, they're awful. Like really, really bad. They had round on fracture as well, or rounds on fracture as well, where they're like double pressuring tree and halls, and they're able to go from there. But that wasn't even really working, and there wasn't even an end goal with it. That makes them super, super disappointing, to be honest.
It's
Is
just a shame.
TS still calling for this team?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
When was the rumor that Meteor was calling?
No, I must have misunderstood something that the casters were saying. The casters were talking about the IGLs, and then they talked about Meteor. They said both IGLs at the top of the scoreboard, and Meteor was at the top of the scoreboard. So I didn't understand, but I think I must have just missed a piece of context where they were saying like up towards the top of the scoreboard or something. Like
Possibly. I mean, if Meteor's calling, then that is completely utter news to me.
That's I'm sure that's not true. It was just my misunderstanding. But I kind of found it believable because there's been such a dramatic, like, disappointment in terms of their performance. Since, to me, I was not impressed with how they played even against DRX. I went back and I watched that game again, and their game plans seemed decent, but the individual decision making was horrendous.
Yeah,
and they just lost so many rounds because of that.
That's what I was criticizing last week. It's just the individual decision making is so bad. I have a couple of rounds I'd like to show for this game. Just not even necessarily a decision. I don't know what the hell is going on. The fracture round 6. This is just a funny moment, and then another one on Haven that we can go back to. But like, just so stupid that I had to like pause it and rewind and like check what happened, because it's like deep in this round when they start going into, you could speed up maybe 10 seconds. They start going into tower. They're getting ready, they're grouping up, and they're gonna go for a stun, a flash, to kill the guy in tower, who's 10. And so he's gonna go flash, throws paranoia, and then right here he gets team flashed. Can you run it back really quickly and actually go into slow motion one time for when he jumps into tower? And maybe 0.5 is fine. Maybe 0.5 is fine.
Right. Anything else? You want a foot rub from Kurt?
Yeah, actually, let's bring it. This dude paranoias, and the paranoia, you didn't see it. The paranoia blocks the flash while TS is jumping through his own nade, and he gets blind from the breach flash that 10 could not get blind by because he was paranoid. I don't know what TS is doing. I don't know what they're doing, but okay, that's that one.
Whoa. So what you're saying is 10 got paranoid.
Yes.
And then the flash came through. He couldn't get flash because he was paranoid.
Yes, he couldn't see the flash.
And
is that how that works?
It team blinded.
Yep, the flash, you could
as
see
well.
It very, very small. It popped right in front of 10.
Right. So even if, I mean, it was never going to work anyway because TS would have been full blind by Eco.
Yes.
But also, why do they have a 6-person rotating roster when the players play the same roles anyway? That's what I've never understood that.
And that's why I think it's a hard vibe shift since that DRX game that you're mentioning, Achilles. I think sometimes a team is having success and then they fuck up one time, they lose, and they just have a hard shift in like how people treat each other or what. Because since then, they've gone back to the preseason Gen.G that I was like, dude, I don't know what this team is, pure chaos. Like, I don't get it at all. Like, that's my theory of what's going on. I have one more round too. Achilles, you go first, but the round 9 on Haven, just at the very beginning, it's something very small that is just like so troll that I don't understand, because TS is just basically wasting a smoke every single round on Haven to try to find something. When it comes up, I'll talk about it.
I was just gonna say, like, I think like 2 big things for me that I would love to see ahead of LCQ. Well, I mean, I say ahead of LCQ. Fuck, they're in the playoffs. I keep forgetting it. They've just barely managed because Paper X destroyed RQ. I would love to see. Oh, okay.
Right here. TS every single round is smoking off that turret. That turret. He's smoking off the grass turret.
Yeah.
The thing is, 10 is just sitting there. He's just standing there. There's never going to be a peak. Like, even if he wasn't, I mean, I don't know what, even if the turret wasn't there, I don't know what's happening. He has to be there to place that turret. So I don't get why you're smoking it off in the first place, because if he sees you peek, he's going to kill you because he knows that you just smoked the turret. So there's nothing going on there. I
mean,
know.
he's like threatening a mid push, I guess. Like they could be tucked up. Sugar Zero's just cleared it. It took him 3 seconds.
Every single round, but they know that it's smoked. It's so dumb in my mind. They're smoking grass. They're smoking so much.
Well, what I would love to see it to maybe course correct the team, and I haven't talked to like Coach Bile or anything, so I don't know if this is something that they actually experimented with or if they never gave consideration to it whatsoever. But I would love to stop the 6-man rotation when you've got people who are just playing the same role and everything like that, because obviously like they're splitting time, but if you compare Eco versus Sylvan has put up considerably better numbers across the matches that he's played in. Eco has had like maybe 2 good maps that I can think of. One of them was his Breach performance versus DRX, and that was the best that he's looked, was that map. And then aside from that, it's been not great, not really awe-inspiring. But I'd love to see Sylvan in, and then move TS the fuck off of smokes. Let him IGL from Initiator like he used to do when he was on TNL, and TNL looked like an incredible team. Because he didn't really start playing smokes, if I'm correct about this, until basically the LCQ last year with Onslayers. And that's when he really started playing things like, Brim, Omen, and Astra and whatnot. And prior to that, he had been Initiator since the game had come out.
Wasn't he good at smokes back then, though? Wasn't he supposed to be a really good smokes player?
He looked, when he made the transition, we were like, oh, how is this going to go? Oh, okay, it actually looks pretty decent. Like, Onslayers had a really rocky start to LCQ and pretty much immediately went to the lower bracket, but then they ran it back into the grand final and then lost to EDG. And TS was finding good impact. But it's not even necessarily that I think that TS is a bad smokes player. I think that Sylvan is just so much better. Because even in that era last year, Sylvan not being on fantastic teams, he was still probably the second best smokes player in the region, just only under Mako. Like, he was so damn good. His decision making when he's playing controller is so clean, it's so crisp, and he doesn't really have that. He's now been forced to learn this Initiator role. I think that if you just swapped TS back to his original comfort and then put Sylvan on his maximum comfort, you'd probably see like immediate results. And I don't know why this is a thing. Like, maybe TS is having this, like Scream-esque thing in his head where it's just like, I need the IGL, but I need to be playing controller in order to IGL. I don't know. But I feel like they're just hamstringing themselves by not putting Sylvan on the role that he made a name for himself on. Because we were all so excited. We were like, oh, finally, Sylvan is going to be joining a franchise team. He's so fucking good. Like, I was amazed when I saw how many comments there were from the Western viewers talking about Sylvan when the announcement came out. Because I thought that this was going to be something that kind of like breezed past, and there was going to be like the dedicated few who, are like, oh, Sylvan's actually really good. But there's actually quite a many people out there that knew to put respect on Sylvan's name. And yet we're getting him playing things like Sova Fade. And I'm just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Let's move on to doing the pick'ems then and see whether we think teams are going to be able to make it deep into the playoffs, because the Pacific bracket is it's set. They're a week ahead of everybody else. So one of the teams we haven't discussed at all is Zeta. So I kind of want to start with Zeta Division and, looking towards the bracket that they have. It would be incredible if they made it to Tokyo. It would be insane if they made it there. And they would be in the running. They play against Team Secret to start things off.
Gosh, we were gonna do bold predictions first, right?
Oh, sorry. Yes, we were gonna do the bold preds. My bad. Okay, so yeah, we'll do the bold predictions. So we asked everybody bold predictions for the top 2 teams. Everyone's got the exact same.
It's gonna be the same, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that's a Plat guarantee.
Oh, it's gonna be a Zeta T1 grand final.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the pick'ems then, because that was just instant. I mean, it's just DRX Paper X. Yeah. I could see something different happening potentially once all 3 teams have locked in, but the real fight is getting to Tokyo in the first place.
That's the thing. I mean, DRX and Paper X, if they just win their opening series, they're in. They're going.
Okay, Zeta versus Team Secret.
I go Team Secret here.
I think Team Secret as well.
They did lose to Zeta in the regular season.
Yes. Yeah, they did. And that's why I'm hesitating a little bit, because I don't know. I said earlier, I think the Team Secret are like the third most likely team. Maybe Zeta. Which team did I say? I can't remember.
You said Zeta with me.
Okay, well I take
Or
back
sorry,
what Brent
Secret.
just said 5 seconds ago.
Secret. You
Never
said
mind. I
secret.
agree
You
with
said
what I
secret.
just said 5 seconds ago.
I can't get over how poor some of these teams' comps are on certain maps. Like the Team Secret Lotus comp is just going to keep shooting them in the foot if they go towards that. The solo Omen comp, to me, one of the biggest reasons that they ended up losing to Zeta was that they just had
The Sova thing.
Yeah, the Sova comp where you run one Omen. I just don't think that. I just think they're gonna get hard abused by any team.
I kind of fuck with it.
No, you don't fuck with it. No,
Yeah, I kind of fuck
It's not
with
good.
it. I kind of fuck with it.
Solo Smokes comps are so ass. Viper.
I agree for the most part.
If you run, go on.
The game against GE to me showed that they had enough trap like plays that it's viable enough. Not necessarily to like run through an entire tournament with, but like you could catch teams off guard in my mind. Because it's very, very good against like anti-A main aggression, which for some reason a lot of teams are still really going for. And then there's a lot of defensive traps that other teams are not playing. I mostly like the double controller stuff, but I don't think that this is non-viable. I think this is okay.
The Viper comps have like a 90% non-mirror win rate on Lotus. I don't. Okay, so Team Secret, where are you at, Seth? Secret?
We were kind of running through this during the recap show, and I think we all kind of collectively did end up going with Secret, if my memory serves.
Very well.
But for me, this really just
with your recap show.
No. I'm just saying I've done some previous thought about this, and we kind of landed on Secret. But the difference maker would have to be Depp. If Depp has just a fucking day out, then I think that he can run over them. Because when you're talking about like an op battle, especially like if Ascent comes into the mix, that's going to force Dubstep back over onto the Jet because Jeremy's not a confident opper. So when it's a Jet map, it's going to be Dubstep shifting over. Jeremy goes over to Killjoy, which he's not nearly as comfortable as Dubstep is playing that one. And I think that Depp could just have an absolute fucking field day there. I mean, the guy's like he's leading in kills and first kills across the entire league. His ratio is like it's so much higher than just about everybody else. I think Saya players in second place in both of those metrics. But Depp has been way out in front, even with some of the iffier series that Zeta have had. I think that if that does come through, Zeta could absolutely stomp them. But I think that with the prep time that they have, given that things have been locked in, I'd probably favor Warbirds coming up with some counters to Zeta's playstyle, because you can pretty much anticipate that they're always going to be hitting your site with like 30 seconds remaining in the round. So
yeah. Okay, we'll lock in Team Secret then. I disagree, but I've been outvoted. That's fine. T1 Gen.G. I'm going T1. There's no way we're going for Gen.G here, right? And I think Paper X and DRX are both winning those games.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean the last time Paper X and T1 played against each other, they got fucking plowed. Something just ran all over Saya player. And while I don't think that would happen again, I think that Saya would have. I think Saya individually would have a stronger time compared to the first. I still think that overall the team would just get
the playstyle diff in that series is so big that I actually think Team Secret has a bigger chance to beat DRX than fucking Paper X has to lose to T1.
Okay, DRX are beating Paper X. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, upper final, DRX through to the grand final. But lower round, I favor T1 here against Zeta Division. I think T1 to me are the third best team.
So this is where you're wrong, because this is where Zeta Division run it all the way fucking back to the grand finals
of Tokyo.
They just don't lose a series from here.
Yep. Low round one, T1 dismantled.
Okay.
It's another one of those. Okay. It's another one of those cases for me where I feel like Depp and Zeta, they're on. They can win it. T1 clearly have some exploitable weaknesses, and sometimes like we see dips in performance still from Carpe, Ban, and Munchkin. even though they widely, as of late, have been playing really well. My heart says Zeta through, but my brain says T1.
Okay.
Team Secret Gen.G doesn't matter.
Whoa,
because
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Zeta's
He's just
clear.
railroading it.
I was gonna try.
Whoa.
Sorry.
I'm going with T1 for this one. I think Zeta is good and they're playing good, but I think they're not going to be good in tournament play. Why? Because they play the same way since Reykjavik.
I think it's safe though.
Yeah, but
Mate,
not for tournaments.
Zeta are not making a run to Tokyo. Move on
They
with your
are.
life,
They
bro.
are.
Team
They
Secret
can do
Gen.G.
it. They
Yeah,
can do it.
I
They
love
can do it. I do agree. They can
By the
do
way,
it.
Kurt, we need to speed up, by the way. We
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
Fucking go.
T1 Secret.
You telling me it's fucking 4 a.m. over here, buddy?
T1
Go to
Secret.
sleep, bro. Like, that's nothing.
Bruh.
I think T1 win that game. To me, T1 look better than Team Secret. T1 have been exposed by teams that are significantly better than them. Otherwise, their ability to beat the middle of the pack teams has been consistent and relatively solid. They haven't lost to any
sorry,
team.
think
That,
T1
Who's
make
significantly
Tokyo.
better than them here in this situation?
DRX, PaperX,
And they
when
beat both of those teams.
what do you mean?
Secret?
No, T1. I'm talking about T1.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about
T1 to me
Secret,
are
man.
like a gatekeeper team currently. They get smacked around by DRX and PaperX. They have no hope in those games, but their ability to beat the like middle of the pack teams has been very consistent.
Yeah, but not
I have
today.
faith. I have faith.
L plus.
I
ratio.
agree that T1 probably would win here, and that kind of goes back to what I said before, where like I don't. Well, maybe not, because Secret might not have to prep that much versus Gen.G. Maybe they just put all their their efforts into prepping for T1. I feel like if they struggle at all versus Gen.G, then they end up losing to T1. I don't know. If
Am I getting
distracted
outvoted
on
here
prep-
again? Is it Team Secret
No,
going
it's
through?
2-2.
No, I think there's a lot of logic here.
No, I'm going with T1.
All right,
I
T1.
want Team Secret, but yeah,
Look, but Brent went Secret too. I'm Secret too. What the fuck? It's 2-2.
Okay. Well,
okay,
fuck
Kurt,
it.
can you
T1
flip
are
a
going
coin?
through. Kurt's clicked
Okay,
T1.
yeah.
T1 are going through.
I mean, Kurt's
PaperX win the
decided.
lower final, and
Yes.
DRX win the grand final.
PaperX win the.
Oh, so it's just the standard.
PaperX do not win the
Standard.
grand final. No,
But they might.
they ain't winning the grand final. That's DRX's, baby.
Okay.
They're not going to start the year off by losing
Well,
domestic.
PaperX
fucking
in the grand
need to
final.
win the grand final in order for my prophecy to become true.
At me
at the
when
beginning
Zeta
of the
Division get third.
No.
But I
at
don't disagree that it's-
Sideshow. And
I think it
Send
is
them eggs.
possible, but I think that Zeta need something that hasn't really happened that often so far in this season, which is that they need all 5 players to show up at the same time. And it's more often than not been like 2 or 3 people at once that are popping off. So you get like Depp and Laz are having a really good game. And then the next map, like Depp isn't finding nearly as much impact, but like Crow is doing all right. You know, and Sugar Zero has like, you know, a solid performance and control. But we haven't seen them all at their peaks, all 5 players at the same time to go out and like really dumpster somebody. And if they can hit that stride, then yeah, I think they make it.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our final segment. It is the most important segment of the week. It's Wyatt's weekly award.
It's Wyatt's weekly award.
He belongs in the playoffs. He should be playing for the Lakers. Okay. The Wyatt's weekly award this week is going to EMEA. It's going to EMEA. We
As
haven't
a
covered them this
region?
week. No, it's not just going to the region. It's going to CNED for being incredible at stacking cups and actually entertaining people during a tech pause that lasted roughly 17 hours.
holy shit.
You see these tech pauses? People falling asleep left, right, and center in EMEA. And I'm talking about the players, not even the audience. It's absolutely ludicrous stuff. Here he is, stacking his cups like nobody's business. He had like 15 of them up there or something.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
insane.
watching this live. Do we have the cup cam clip? Because that was weird. It was some avant-garde shit that the EMEA production started doing, where the cameraman started walking towards CNED with a cup in his hand directly in front of the camera lens. So he's just like moving towards CNED, and then he gives it to him at the end.
I've
Now,
seen it, but I don't have it timestamped, unfortunately.
good.
I don't want to say that the Wyatt's Weekly Award is a jinx, but CNED is currently playing against Fnatic and just got absolutely rinsed on map 1. So this
It didn't
to be
get
clear,
rinsed. It was close.
No, he got rinsed.
He got
He got
Oh.
fixed, is what he's saying.
he got rinsed. It was he's 6-20 with a 0.4 rating. So I mean, I wasn't watching, but it looks like he got absolutely mullered. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
EMEA fans, go and tune in, cheer them on. They're down 0-1 against Fnatic currently, but who knows? Maybe there's a chance for a comeback.
Loud loss, DRX loss. Come on.
Yeah, a reminder again, go and check out manscaped.com. Thank you for sponsoring the episode. And, comment in the chat for this episode. If you had $5, what would you buy with it? What?